What up, boys? What's poppin'? What's poppin'? What's poppin'? Shout out to everybody in the chat right now. Late night stream. You guys already know what that means. We finna get ourselves into some trouble tonight, I guess.
What up, boys? What's poppin'?
You know, probably not too much trouble at all, really. But best believe
Shout out to everybody
the
in the chat
upstairs
right now.
void will be,
Late night stream.
you
guys already know
banging
what that
at some
means.
point. It's just inevitable tonight.
We finna get ourselves
Late night
into some
stream.
trouble
You guys
tonight,
know
I
what that
guess.
means.
What up, boys?
If
What's
you don't,
You know, probably not too much trouble at all, really.
stick around a bit
but,
longer. I'm sure you'll find out
best believe
very clearly
the
exactly what that
upstairs
means
void
at around
will be
probably around the
you know,
30-minute mark,
you
I'd
guys
say,
already
of this
know at
podcast or
some
of this
point.
stream.
It's just inevitable tonight.
But shout out to
We finna
Perfecto.
late night
Perfecto,
stream.
first one
You guys
here.
know what that means.
Streets here,
If you
homie.
don't,
Shout out to Perfecto once again. First one
Stick
in the
around a
chat.
bit
Everybody
longer,
give
I'm
it
sure you'll
up to
find out
Perfecto.
very clearly exactly what that means at around
Everyone give it up for
probably around the
Perfecto.
30-minute mark, I'd say, of this podcast or of this
Shit, we're
stream.
lagging again.
But,
Because for some reason,
shout out
anytime
to
a video
Perfecto.
plays now
Perfecto first one here.
on
Streets here,
X,
homie. Shout out to
my
Perfecto once again. First one in the chat.
my
Everybody
stream
give it up
lags,
to Perfecto. Very clearly.
and that is a problem I'm having a hard time figuring out how to
Everyone
fix.
give it up for Perfecto.
I'm deleting a lot of I'm opening up a lot of storage space in my
For some reason, anytime a video plays now
desktop, so I don't know.
on X,
Mm.
my
Okay, no more echo. No more echo. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. But yeah, I don't know why it's laggy when I play videos on X. We got to figure that out eventually. But the reason why you boys are all here clicking in, well, it's because of me, I guess, right? I think it's safe to say at this point, you know, it ain't even about the thumbnails. You boys are tuning in for me. So shit, I guess I'm the reason you guys are all here to listen to me. But if anybody did click in on the thumbnail because of the, full Netflix card being announced, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. But before we even talk about it, I need to eat some of my food here, so we're just going to chill for a little bit. Just going to chill and chop it up with the chat for a little bit. Meat Rocket's here. What up, Meat Rocket? We got Tom in the building. I'll be watching it 100%. Big up from Dundaughter. Shout out Dundaughter. Gravy Show says, I haven't left chat in 2 years. That's a fact. Also, Netflix MMA card looking fire. I guess I'll just spoil my opinion now. I mean, it is pretty good. It is pretty good. You know, as much as I want to hate on it, I did say I'm not going to watch it. Looks like I got to eat my words because I will be watching this. You know, I'm not going to be that stubborn with it. When it was just announced that Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano are fighting, yeah, you know, I was kind of pissed off. And I still am pissed off that they're headlining it over Nate Diaz and Mike Perry. And I still don't like Ronda in general. But it's a good card, and I will be watching it. And shout out to Jake Paul, MVP. You know, I feel like they did sign a few guys for the hardcores. Even 8 and 9, Chris Avila. It's a good signing. You know, for me, I like to watch a Chris Avila fight. I'm okay with it. But yeah, we got Chris Avila in this bitch. We got Albert Morales. It's like mediocre, this one. This one's mediocre. We got Aline Pereira. Nothing really special, but leave it to DEI Promotions. You got to make it equal. But Namo Fazil. It seems like Jake Paul, they had their ear to the pavement on this one because Namo Fazil, he is a popular prospect on the regional scene, so to speak, who has not been signed to the UFC. We covered him in Karate Combat, and he's got some decent skills. He got a pretty good fan base, so it's good to see Jake Paul picked up on that. And, you know, a few other good ones. You know, Lorenz Larkin, Jason Jackson, it's solid. This got announced on another promotion recently. But I guess it's going to be taking place on Netflix instead. I'll wait to get into the whole thing. Let me get my remote real quick. Let me just start reading off the chat. Lord of the Pie says Netflix card is fun but not competitive. Interesting. Interesting. Gino about to save the MVP card, really? Is that what we think? Q&A time right now, boys. Drop it in the chat what you guys want to talk about. You boys got questions for me or what? Buck not competitive. What? Listen, if Mike Perry doesn't beat the shit out of if Nate Diaz doesn't beat up Mike Perry, I know nothing about MMA. And if Israel Adesanya doesn't beat Joe Pyfer on Saturday, I also know nothing about MMA. Who we rocking with, Izzy or Pyfer? I gotta say, that oatmeal. Well, let's go maple brown sugar oatmeal, blueberries, and a little scoop of peanut butter. Gotta be an elite combo. I mean, bananas. Adding bananas to this wouldn't hurt at all. Bucks competitive. America first. Bucks competitive. Nate Diaz is gonna destroy Mike Perry, so to speak. Otto says, yo, what up? Hope you're having a great night. Hope everyone else is too. I'm glad I made it this time. You made it, homie. We haven't even started yet. And this is delicious. Mm-hmm. Oatmeal is a goated carb. I gotta say, my three favorite carbs gotta be like potato, oatmeal, and rice. Just in time. Just in time, homie. We're just about to get started. And we even got a little Calpico. A little mango Calpico to wash it all down. What did I do today? Ain't shit, really. I ain't did shit today. And this is probably really weird watching me eat this egg, but shit, I don't got a fork. Eddie Hearn versus Dana, Zuffa versus Dazin. Izzy KO round 1. I don't even like Izzy like that, but yeah, I kind of hope so. America versus Izzy done. He can't beat no elite fighters anymore. Strickland broke Adesanya. Yep. Strickland definitely tore into Izzy's ass. And if Izzy loses to Joe Pyfer, you might be right, America first. I'm not willing to say that yet, but if he loses to Joe Pyfer, everything you said is right. Okay, so before we get into everything, boys, we do have a pretty good stream. I have a few good opinions to share with you, so we're going to get into it right now. And enjoy it while it's hot. You feel me? Because while I will be staying live a bit longer for you boys, the energy might get brought down a little bit, you know, in about 30 minutes just because of the bullshit that goes on. But, you know, I'm not going to let it get to us too much. But just letting you guys know, you know, enjoy my energy while it's hot, okay? Because, you know, I like to bring it the entire time, but I might have to fucking chill out a little bit in about like 30 minutes or 40 minutes. But anyway, let me put the dishes away and then let's get started. I'm already anticipating the bullshit though, so it's like it's not that big of a deal. I won't be too shook when it happens since I'm already expecting it. Okay. All right, so there's a bit of a rundown that I just want to go over before we officially get cracking, but also before we officially get cracking, like the stream, boys, subscribe if you're not subscribed. All right, we want 25 likes on the evening. And shit, we got 23 people in here right now, so do me a solid and run up the likes for us for the one time. I will be reminding you guys again in a little bit. But yeah, you know, we want 25 likes on the evening. We got 10 right now. And subscribe once again if you're not subscribed. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the rundown for this evening. Before I get into the rundown, let me read a good chat from Frank here. You boys start dropping some more good chats in here. You know, I'm excited to read some chats. So stop being quiet in the chat and drop some good stuff in here, you know. Don't be shy. 3x3 mustard fried with grilled whole onion from In-N-Out is fire. Super fire. Gotta get it mustard fried. If you get it animal style, if you get your double animal style, it comes mustard fried. All right, whole grilled onions, another hack in there. Run some whole grilled onions. In my opinion, a bit more filling than the grilled onions themselves, and it's also grilled. It's whole grilled, just not sliced up. Big circle slices. Herrera says, bro, I like your vibe. You look healthy. Good for you. Stay strong, brother. I'm recovering from alcohol. That's my fight, but we got some good fights coming up. Stay strong. Damn, Frank, my man. Well, shit, thank you. And yes, I do like to be on the healthy tip, so hopefully that could be some motivation to you, homie. We're live every night, so tap in for the good vibes. And good luck with all the alcohol recovery. You got this, homie. Come on. It ain't nothing. It ain't nothing. You got it. But shout out to you. Thanks for sharing that. So let's get started now. let's get started, boys, and let's go through a little bit of a rundown, and then let's get started. Do I want to be big? Do I want to be small? Let's meet in the middle. I definitely don't want to be full screen. Oh, we're already starting with some pounding. Okay, so I know that the title, what does the title of the stream say? Let's go over the title of the stream. You know, full Netflix MVP card announced. Is it good? Is it bad? Spoiler alert. I like it. I like it. All right, I like it. Contrary to what a lot of you guys probably would have thought, I like it. I'm finna co-sign it. Honestly, it's better than the stuff we've been getting in the UFC, and that's sad to say. Now, I'm not going to say that this is better than UFC White House because it's not by any means. You know, it's definitely not better than UFC White House by any stretch of the imagination. But this is better than, you know, maybe even the Volkanovski card, right? Where Dan Hooker and BSD fought in the co-main. I mean, I don't know. I think that Mokaev versus Moraes, I like that one, you know. I like that one more because it involves Mokaev. I know that's maybe throwing a little bit of shade at BSD, but I'm just saying. You know, BSD versus Dan Hooker was the co-main. And Lorenz Larkin, Jason Jackson. It's a pretty good fight, man. I know that these guys are a bit older, but I fuck with it personally. Lorenz Larkin, basically like Benjamin Button, bro. He's older, but shit, don't let his age fool you. He's been essentially super inactive ever since leaving the UFC. And, you know, he got a lot of miles left. So those are just a couple of the fights that I think are pretty good. And I'm kind of hyped for. Chris Avila is another one. It's just good to start off the night with the Chris Avila fight. I do think it elevates the card a little bit. And then obviously like Dos Santos versus Despaigne. We don't really give a fuck. I mean, you know, it is what it is. Nobody's clamoring to see JDS. Despaigne, you know, okay, relatively like, I don't know. Let's see what you can do, I guess. You know, whatever the case. I am a little bit worried about Adriano Moraes. Where has he been? Right? I need to look at his tapology, see what he's been up to ever since Demetrius Johnson kind of dipped out of the picture. Because he's the guy who beat Demetrius. You know, this dude knocked out Demetrius. So it's kind of good money, but I like to see where he's been. You know, Demetrius came back, got the lick back, and retired. And then this Parnasse. Saladin Parnasse versus Kenneth Cross. All right. I'll tune into this one. I'm not too familiar with these guys' work. I'll tune in and see what's going on here. You know, maybe I could learn something. I won't be ignorant to it. Just because I don't know them doesn't mean they're not good fighters. I was actually encouraging MVP to start bringing on some fighters who aren't just washed ex-UFC fighters. And, you know, I'm glad that Mokaev, although he's a former UFC fighter, he's not washed. So I'm glad they brought him on. And then they got a couple guys who are prospects. They got Namo, right? Despaigne, not necessarily washed yet. The UFC just didn't want him. Chris Avila and the NDA boys, you know, it's cool to have two of them on the card. So that's what I would say. David McGoyan, maybe he's a prospect. I don't know. I'm not going to be super excited to watch this one against Albert Morales, but shit, I'll watch it. You know, I'll watch it, and I'll watch it from the first one. I'll watch this from the very first one. So I think that's a pretty good compliment. But going back to the timeline of what else we'll be discussing today, I wanted to get into maybe a little bit of the Francis Ngannou interview with Ariel. Just because, again, this whole Jon Jones situation, it needs to be sorted out, guys, because there's a lot of disingenuous stuff going on. And you know me. I will not stand for it. It needs to be put out in the open, the truth. And shit, I am the truth, man. I am the fucking truth. So just stay tuned for that. We need to talk about some stuff that happened in the Ngannou interview with Ariel. And then they're also kind of like coping about Francis and, you know, whether or not him leaving the UFC was a dub or an L. And we'll get into that. We'll discuss it. Two things can be true. I probably just spoiled my opinion on that, but it's like, it's both. It's fucking both. You know, it was a dub and an L. Like, yeah, you're making money, but does that mean you're in fights that we want to see? Well, I mean, not even that. This is the one fight that we don't necessarily want to see. I was down to see Cesar Ferreira. You know, the guy he knocked out in PFL, the returning heavyweight champion at the time. AJ, Tyson Fury, it was cool to watch. This the only bad one, but homie been super inactive. And I'm not even really one to hate on Francis. I guess I'm just going to get into it now. Shit. Should I get into it now? Let me say it now, and I'll probably have more about it for you guys later. I'm not really one to hate on Francis, and when he left the PFL, I didn't have much to say, right? I didn't have much to say at all. I didn't care that he left the PFL and he was a free agent. You know, the writing was pretty much on the wall that he was going to end up being signed to this card. But how do I say this? Yeah, you versus Felipe Lins is kind of shit, homie. You went from fighting Tyson Fury and AJ and the reigning heavyweight champion at PFL, and now it's Felipe Lins. So it's just a shit fight that nobody wants to see, and that's totally fine. Totally fine. We don't need to watch it, or not that we don't need to watch it, but we don't need to be excited to watch it. It doesn't mean that you haven't got the bag and secured the bag and, done right by yourself, essentially. So I don't even think about his UFC departure and whether or not it was good or bad. I think hands down, unanimously, his UFC departure was a good thing for him. And, we got a few good fights out of it. It is what it is. I'm not so stressed about that at all. I just think that this was a bad fight and it's not something we care to watch. And then on top of that, people hype it up. What happens when Canelo fights fucking random ass people? He gets shit talked on him. And it's the same thing here. Once you reach a certain echelon, we want to see you keep competing against, certain echelons of fighters, not be regressed back to a Felipe Lins. It's fine, but the fight's not very good. We're going to watch it anyway. And yeah, you did make money and all of that stuff is true. But just because we don't think the fight is the greatest and people may have talked shit on it, it doesn't necessarily mean that we think that you leaving the UFC was an L. It's clear as day. Nobody's going to argue that, bro. You made a huge ass bag like 3 times. The contract he signed with the PFL was crazy too. So no sweat there, but we'll get into that later because Ariel pushes these narratives and it's these sad ass narratives. It's like, bro, it's not woe is Ngannou, but like, people just don't like the Felipe Lins fight. They were shocked to hear it. And like, that's a typical reaction. There's a typical reaction. You already opened up your mouth, Brandon. Out with it. Yep, I let it out. Frank's telling me you should fight. Shit, can I fight Martin Spartan Sano? Is he down to fight me? Brandon focusing on keeping his body healthy, but his hair trashy. Shit, my hair is looking kind of crazy right now. I can't lie. I was thinking that, but I wasn't gonna say it. But honestly, boys, I just don't really give a fuck. As long as it's a bit shorter, shit, I really don't give a fuck. I like this better than I liked it before I cut it a couple days ago. It was too long. And then it'll grow back out and kind of like stop sticking out like I got electrocuted and shit. But it just is what it is. But shout out America First for noticing. That shit crossed my mind too, homie. Shout out Meat Rocket in the chat. Ngannou is simply making easy money. He built up his name / brand. Now he's cashing out. Yeah, and it's like, yeah. Does it? And all that being said, right? It's like, it doesn't mean I need to like this fight, but everything America First said is true too. So it's both is true. Both is true, Congrats, Francis. Good for you, homie. I ain't mad at you. It's just like, damn, And I'll even admit for myself, I won't speak for anybody else, but I'll just say, after the dust has settled a little bit with the bookings and everything, it's not as bad. But hindsight, we got Ronda Rousey announced. I was all up on that. I was hating, rightfully so. and I wanted to continue my hatred, right? So Ngannou and Lins gets announced, and I was ready to keep popping my shit hating on it. But now that, now with the hindsight of Diaz Perry getting announced and the whole card getting announced today, I'm willing to be more okay with it, not super okay with it, not excited to watch it by any means, never get it twisted, but it's like, okay, it's a bit of an opponent filler, and we get to see Ngannou out here. Does this fight mean anything? No, not really. But we just get to see the spectacle himself, Ngannou. So it is what it is. I'm not as mad anymore. The other things I was going to bring up about this whole Netflix card, we can get into it. Should I guess now, man? I guess now. Well, let me go over the rundown so you guys know what's going on. Ronda thinks she's the savior of the MMA world, and I don't really fuck with it, and it annoys me. And I'm just going to have to say something about it for you guys as well to just set the tone straight for anyone who doesn't really, see it, or maybe you guys just want to hear it from me, what you might be thinking about it. Because a lot of you guys in the chat, we got the same perspectives on some things. We see the fight game similarly. So maybe you just want to hear somebody kind of voice your opinion, and I will do that for you. The Ollie Act also got approved today. So we'll just kind of read through an article and discuss that. Nothing too crazy, but I figured I'd just go over that with you guys and let you know what's going on. ALF reality fighter someone almost dies. So yeah, Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier's Ultimate Fighter runoff series, the tough version. A fighter almost died. He said that essentially he wanted to he fucked the dude's mom, and he was not having that, so they got in a street fight. And then the dude almost died. So we'll get into that. Just show you a video about that. It's not a big talking point. But I did want to touch on the Volkanovski wants Diego Lopez next, because Gene Silva is the one who's kind of politicking to get in this conversation. And the UFC's kind of flirting with it seems like. And Gene Silva went on Ariel's show today, and he said that, I'll leave the UFC forever if I lose to Volkanovski. Volkanovski did explain in his video that he posted on YouTube, and he said, bro, Gene Silva should not, come up and fight me, because first of all, what's he going to do after he fights me? Well, actually, this is what he said. I kind of remembered it wrong, so let me just explain it, from what Volk said. Gene Silva said what he said about leaving the UFC forever. But Volkanovski, he was speaking about why he doesn't want to fight Gene Silva. And one of the reasons he gave was that I beat Gene Silva. He goes on and he loses to the other contenders just like he did to Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez is already a loss on his resume. Volk already beat Diego Lopez twice. Imagine if he loses to the other contenders in Movsar and Lerone Murphy. Volkanovski doesn't like that prospect because it's going to do nothing for his legacy. When people look back on his legacy and they see the Gene Silva win, they're going to wonder why he was ever up there to begin with. You lost to these other guys after Volk. You didn't even, it's not a good win for Volk. Volk wants to have a good win on his resume. And that good win is obviously the undefeated Russian, Movsar Evloev. It's clear as day. He's the number one contender. He's been overlooked, and Volk wants that. So we're going to talk about, Volk and Diego and Gene Silva and Movsar Evloev. Speaking of the flyweight division, Manel Kopp, or not speaking of the flyweight division at all, but Manel Kopp and Kyoji Horiguchi has been booked. Oh my God, this shit's so annoying, bro. It's like a 10 o'clock little timer or alarm clock that goes off. It's like, bro, fuck off. I'm not following your rule about being quiet at 10 p.m. Deal with it. Deal with it. I hear you walking around your house all night till 11 p.m. That's a fucking funny thing about this neighbor. She be doing this little alarm clock where she punches on the floor and she tries to get me to shut up. And it's like, bro, even if I were to shut up, you're still awake till 11 something p.m. walking around your house. Why are you trying to get me to shut up? Fuck off. You don't get to tell me when I stop the stream and when I start the stream. You just don't get to do that. And the petty, childish treating me like I'm a child like that is low key a bit offensive, and it pisses me off. I'm not your fucking person that you tell what to do and I'm just gonna listen. I'm nice enough to try to appease you, but don't ever get it twisted. Don't ever get it twisted. So I'm just telling you, the pounding right now, it's like, bro, this 10 p.m. hard stop is just ridiculous. And you're up past 10 p.m. anyway, so don't act like you're trying to sleep. I just don't give a fuck. So yeah, not speaking about flyweight, but Manel Kape versus Kyoji Horiguchi, that's been booked. So I guess we can break that down a little bit. And then we got the Joe Pyfer versus Israel Adesanya. Joe Pyfer's found Jesus heading into this fight. So it might be a scary man. We don't know. But we'll see. And then obviously the full Netflix card announced. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I have pretty much previewed the whole Netflix card. So the one last thing I would say, I mean, it is kind of cool that, it's kind of stupid actually, that Ngannou versus Felipe Lins is a 5-round fight. Like Felipe Lins is a 5-round fighter. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. And then Ronda versus Gina. Like, I know that that's the main event, but that's why it shouldn't be the main event. Because nobody wants to see 5 rounds of Ronda versus Gina, bro. The last thing I'm going to say is that Nate Diaz should be the main event. Nate Diaz is the main event. And they should change that sooner than later. I love what they did here, putting Nate Diaz on the left, but making it seem like Ronda's putting Ronda in the middle, but elevating her in front of the two of them. It's just kind of funny to me. It's like they're giving an illusion that Nate's the main event. You feel me? They're giving that illusion that Nate is the main event. So they know it too. They know it too. Now, did I happen to bookmark what Ronda said? I probably didn't. Wait, NBA YoungBoy went off on Floyd Mayweather and his daughter. We should take a look at that. Also, Tank Davis going off on Bud Crawford. Give me a second so we can speak about the Ronda Rousey thing. Brian C says Gene don't deserve shit. He needs one more fight. He definitely does. I mean, he definitely does. So let's just kind of speak about this. And Francis is saying it too. Francis is like, it's better than the White House card. I just want to get these things off my chest because sometimes I tend to forget later on. So if it's on my mind, I just want to get it out now. It's also kind of late, so I could be tired and forgetting things. But Francis also said this, that it's a big card, bigger than UFC White House. And Ariel kind of like, he didn't really co-sign it like he was doing early on. And I think it's because he's been reading the criticism from his audience, of him trying to glaze it up and gaslight his viewers into, being supportive of this fight. And I just noticed, it's just a small side note, but I noticed in that interview that Ngannou told Ariel that the card is better than UFC White House. And Ariel was like, yeah, and moved on. When I feel like if Ariel was truly confident in that take, Ariel would have watered the seed of that conversation, right? And Ngannou planted the seed about being better than UFC White House. Ariel, if he really wanted to co-sign it, which he's been doing and getting criticized for, he would have watered that seed. But I think he's pulling away from his support for the card, so to speak, publicly, and expressing it with his words because of all the criticism he's been getting. Just a small little side note I picked up on in that interview. Could be true, could not be, but if he really thought it was a great card, he should have co-signed it and been like, yeah, it is better than UFC White House. Say it with your chest, homie. But, you can't. So, because it's going to lose your respect. So let's read what Ronda's saying because it's very disingenuous and I just need you guys to know it. I'm sure nobody. Damn, Brian just became a member. Shout out to Brian C for joining for copping a memby. Shout out to Brian C. You got access to some new emojis now. You got access to you got early access to the full interviews. I need to get some new interviews going. And shit, I think you guys need to spam Jax Forrest and tell him to respond to my message because I messaged Homeboy and he left me on scene. I plan on reaching back out to him. But shit, if anybody wants to start spamming Jax Forrest IG, let him know. Perry Punch, Jacob, he trying to interview you. He fucks with you. Respond to his message. If you're a real soldier, if you're a real street soldier, shit, strap up them boots. All right, open up IG. Go to Jax Forrest page and drop the comment on the latest post. It's official. I'm asking for it. Anytime is good. You know, anytime in the next 24 hours is good. After the next 24 hours, I'll reach out again and be like, yo, you know, just following up, all innocent. But shout out to Brian C for copping him MB. Let's get that Jax Forrest interview. You boys helped me out with getting that. He saw the message. He didn't respond. He could be busy. So I hold no malice. I'm going to reach out again. He could be trying to figure out his schedule. So it could be a lot of things. Nothing personal, but shit, I'm calling on the streets. And then you also get some access to some live streams that ever become members only. Maybe we'll do some things in the future where we can kind of like switch the live stream to members only. I was thinking about that the other day. You know, we can do that. Like right now, I can make this live stream members only in the snap of a finger. So shout out to all the members. We might do something like that in the future. But I don't want to ostracize everybody else. Okay, so that was just a side note. Now let's get into Ronda Rousey. But wait, America versus Top Rank Boxing sucks. Meat. Tony Sal Ariel kisses up to Francis. Yeah, he does. I got two number one. I'm not sure what that means. Ariel is always in Francis' corner, says Tony Sal. I know Ariel is always in Francis's corner. And I don't blame him. You know, he can be in Francis' corner if he wants to. I don't blame him. But we're just going to talk about things. Ronda needs to get humbled again by my girl Gina. All right, so yeah, let's read what Ronda's saying. She goes, I know I'm biased, but I can't remember ever seeing a card more stacked than this in MMA history. Like, what the fuck, bro? Wolf tickets. Why are you doing this? Like, you're going way overboard with this, and it's really disingenuous, and it's really, you know, it turns a lot of people off. It turns a lot of people off when you do shit like this. And then somebody else goes, you know, let's be honest, we only here to see Francis. Everyone else would have been crazy like 8-9 years ago. Not even Francis, bro, Nate Diaz. But, you know, calling it the most stacked card in MMA history is crazy work. Then she goes on to say, this is what happens when fighters come together and bet on themselves. Change is coming. We are not expendable. We are this business. This is a fight card for everyone, not some oligarch schmooze fest. Cough, White House card, cough. Tickets start at just $88. So, I mean, Ronda Rousey, if you care so much, then I expect to see you here advocating for fighters once you're gone. But this is my thing. I believe that Ronda's saying all this stuff, and it's obvious, right? It's obvious that what she's doing, but let me just point out the obvious. I'm sure all you guys already know the truth, but she's doing all this stuff to pad her own pockets, and that's what kind of pisses me off. You know, she's doing all this stuff to pad her own pockets. It has nothing to do with the other fighters. She's saying all this stuff to sell the event. And so it's just kind of sad when you're compromising what I think is your moral compass to sell tickets. It's kind of sad to me. It's kind of sad that you're willing to compromise your moral compass to sell tickets. And she's not the spokesperson for, you know, equal rights in MMA. Not whatsoever. Not whatsoever. She doesn't even care, bro. She could care less. When she lost, she dipped. Never forget. When she lost to Holly Holm, she dipped, bro. She never showed those girls, you know, that looked up to her how to come back from adversity. She doesn't give a fuck. She doesn't give a fuck. And so it just needed to be said one time that, like, change is coming. We are not expendable. Okay, then let's see the change you're going to make, Ronda, because that's what you're suggesting, right? We should support this event and the change that you're trying to institute or constitute. Okay, well, is this just a one-off? Is this just a one-off? You're speaking super big, and I just don't see like what the end all be all is when this event is all said and done. Like what will be the end all be all? There's nothing left after this event is done with. So how could change be coming if there's nothing that's coming after this event? It would be different if Ronda was starting her own type of promotion or something and speaking along these lines, but I mean, on top of that, the UFC shut her down. They didn't even want her. So that's just my take. I won't get too long into that. Ronda will get this payday, then disappear again, says Meat Rocket. True. And that's why I just want you guys to know that, like, don't listen to her when she says shit like she's here to save MMA, change is coming. What change is coming? What are you even doing? You went to Jake Paul because the UFC didn't want you after the pay-per-view era ended. Like, what exactly are you doing? Nice haircut, Jacob. Shout out to Owen. Thank you, homie. Much appreciated. Much appreciated, homie. Frank says Nate Diaz fight will last 1 round. KO Perry. Ronda Rousey rear naked choke round 1 or 2. That is true, huh? I haven't even allowed myself to consider who's going to win, Ronda or Gina Carano. But it's obviously clear as day that Ronda is going to beat the shit out of Gina. It's obviously clear as day that Ronda is going to beat the shit out of Gina. And it's obviously going to be a submission. Ngannou's going to destroy Felipe Lins. We all know it. And, Despain's going to destroy Dos Santos. Mokaev going to beat Moraes. We all know it. We all know it. So, the last thing, let's do the Francis interview. Let's do the Francis interview. I'm not exactly sure where everything starts on the Francis interview, but I'm kind of sure. Maybe around the 20-minute mark. Ronda went from being Dana's hoe to Jake Paul's hoe. You think she's going to let Jake Paul hit that for the one time? Okay. Let's listen to this interview with Ariel and Francis. I'm not sure where it picks up, but let me just try to figure out where. It's going to be a bunch of first-round mismatch finishes. I mean, yeah, kind of. Minus the no-names. The no-names are going to be the longer fights. Like Parnasse versus Cross, I'm sure will be longer. I bet you even Lorenz versus Jackson will be a bit longer. Fazil versus Babian's going to be decision-worthy. Magoyan Morales, decision-worthy. Pereira, Moss and Wong, decision-worthy. Chris Avila, probably going to be a decision. But the big names, they're going to be first-round finishes. Okay, let's listen to this interview with Francis and, Ariel.
Of course, otherwise I wouldn't say yes. I'm happy for the opportunity as well. Remember, this is like the first MMA fight that's gonna be on Netflix. So I was more excited about that. That was like a big decision factor.
Today they announced the entire card. I know you've been training. I don't know if you've seen it, but from what you've seen, you saw it. Here it is, just in case.
Yeah.
What do you think of this first card here?
It's dark. It's dark. It's the biggest card so far. Unless they bring some magic, this is the biggest card of the year.
See, so right there. And listen to what Ariel says. He just blows right past it.
Yeah.
So far.
Even since we saw you, Nate and Mike being added, I know
exactly.
That's a huge.
It's a card that is going to be very difficult to match it.
Are you familiar with Saladin Parnasse from France?
Yeah.
So no cosign on Francis's claims that it's the biggest card of the year. All he says is, yeah, you got Nate on there. A very throwaway comment, you know. Leaving PFL, Rico negotiations, defending Jon Jones, responding to Jake Paul's challenge, Netflix card details. Okay, so I think we're right in the heart of this. If we skipped over the PFL part, leaving PFL, I already expressed it. You know, that whole thing about leaving PFL as an L. I've already explained it, so who cares if we listen to what they had to say about it? I already gave you all the context, so it doesn't even really matter. But let's just continue listening to this one.
I know him. I met with him. His manager reached out to me once. When he wanted to start boxing, he wanted to do some boxing event in France, and they will have like some challenge, some difficulty, and then he reached out. We meet up, trying to see if I could help.
When the announcement came out that you were leaving the PFL, and I know you talked about this a little bit, but we haven't talked about it. You know, everyone had a say on the decision to leave the UFC, the legacy, all that stuff. And I felt, Francis, when I saw you on that Tuesday at the press conference, I felt a different type of energy around you. Like I felt like, and even in the interviews with people afterwards, like there was like an intensity to you. Like you were out to prove people wrong. I know you don't listen to what people say and you don't put stock into it and all this stuff, but I felt some sort of like edge to you. Do you know what I'm saying? Is that a fair way to describe how you're feeling right now?
No. You know, I mean, I don't feel like I have to prove anything to anybody, you know, so I won't have edge with that. As I said, I just do what I have to do, and then I get my peace of mind. I live with in my little bubble, and it's been working pretty good. You know, like right now, even going out there, start to do interviews, stuff like that, it's not my stuff. I just want to live my life. It's been good. You know, the decision. You mean which decision? It's the best decision of my life. You know, and also, in case those people don't know, is a part of a legacy, because I have done something that nobody have done before. Nobody could have get in the position that I am right now before. So I opened that door, and I did it my own way. I was the first. So, I mean, what do you want me to prove? If that's not enough proof. And then I went out there being the first to take out two of the best boxer in the moment. And now I'm the first in the opening the MMA event on Netflix. What do you want me to explain, brother?
Okay, so I'll even give extra credit to Ngannou and say that, yeah, even though he's fighting Felipe Lins, the spin is that, you know, he went out, he left the UFC, he did boxing in 2 events. That is going to add to his legacy. You know, 50 years from now, there's only going to be a couple of guys who got to do what Francis did. You know, so in the history books, he will be talked about for the boxing. Renan Ferreira might not be the most historic fight, but I mean, the PFL story and everything, I think it'll just add to his legacy. So it doesn't hurt his legacy. It builds the storyline to it. So I won't even down that. And I never did down the Renan Ferreira fight. I only did down the Felipe Lins fight. But now he says, you know, I know that Felipe Lins, it's not the greatest fight, but I'm on the first ever Netflix MMA card. So what is Francis? He's basically the pioneer of what you can do outside the UFC. There you go. He's a pioneer of what you can do outside the UFC, and you know, yeah, maybe there is too much criticism for the Felipe Lins fight when you look at it big picture. I could see the argument. All right, I could see the argument. Nate Diaz doing something similar too, though. So you got Francis, you got Nate. You know, Nate also went and he boxed Jake Paul. That's big in its own right. He fought Masvidal. Not as big, but still kind of cool to see. and now he's on the first ever Netflix MMA card. So Francis and Francis and Nate Diaz are two of the people who were able to kind of get free out of the UFC's reins. And they're showing what can be done. So they are pioneering things. Ronda Rousey, I just don't trust her. I don't really fuck with her, so whatever. Shout out to Frank Herrera. He says, excuse my language, I'm a Ronda Rousey fan. Gone versus Alex, who wins and why? Alex, because he's a bigger dog and a more experienced striker on a higher level, you know? I know that Gon's a pretty little striker, but you guys will see, man. He's just your typical little MMA guy with like the most mediocre striking. Like, yeah, he's good by MMA standards, bro. But Alex is okay. Let me put it like this: Cyril Gane, okay, he's all MMA. He doesn't have a background in like boxing and kickboxing. Number one, yeah, he's a good striker by MMA standards, which is super fucking mid. And Alex is a great striker by kickboxing standards. And kickboxing, all they do is strike. So you can't be that mid, you know? And the UFC is more kickboxing than it is boxing. So I think Alex is going to knock that dude out pretty much, you know? Or he's just going to show that he got the dog. Like,
Somebody does.
it's going to come down to like, you know, these boys are going to be scrapping and Alex is going to walk this dude down and be the dog in there and Gon's going to crumble and fold. You know, Gon can't take that pressure. Gon cannot take that pressure of an Alex Pereira. He's not even as educated on the feet. He thinks he is. But he's going to be in a world of trouble against Alex Pereira. That's my take and that's why I think it.
Doesn't understand, then he need no explanation.
What was interesting to me was seeing people, managers, people in the business talk about like, you see, it was a mistake. And I was thinking 2 boxing matches, an MMA fight, now the Netflix fight. So this is 4 fights since leaving the UFC. And I would imagine, I don't know how much you make, but just from what I hear, they're like, this amount of money is probably more than your whole entire MMA career prior to that. So what are we basing it off of? How could it be a mistake? I don't understand how people are viewing this.
It's the narrative. People just follow the narrative. When I was there battling, when I was in a battle in the position back then, having all this pressure, all this threat, nobody think about like he's a mistake. Then I get free, get in peace, and then he's a mistake. I don't understand. If having peace and peace of mind and be in the best position that you ever think of is a mistake.
I just gotta say it one more time. It's like I don't know who these managers are. Nobody ever called that a mistake that you left the UFC, homie. The only thing we ever did, and now it's a big old stink because you got Ariel involved. It's like, dude, the only thing we really ever talked shit on, homie, was the fact that, you know, we don't like the Felipe Lins fight. And sure, there's other things like you and PFL and you were bad at business with them or some of these other things that transpired. But who cares, bro? Who cares, honestly? Like, we all get into our little scuffles about business and shit like that. Like, nobody really hating on you, Francis. Like, no one really hating on you like that. Like, thinking, like, you leaving the UFC was an L. You know, you get hated on for a lot of other things that I won't even mention. I'll take it easy on you today. But it's like you get hated on for a lot of other things, homie. And it barely any of it has to do with whether or not you leaving the UFC was an L.
Mistake, well, then I love mistakes. I'm really looking forward to do so, to make some mistake in the future.
What was it like hearing Ronda talk about these business, you know, choices and the state of the sport and all that stuff when you've been saying this stuff for the last few years, but to hear it from her, you know, after all this time, I was wondering what you thought of it.
Well, I think not only Ronda, but now in the moment, like I see a lot of people battling and then get in the same position that I was, understanding what I was dealing with at time, which is more excited because people get more aware of like the situation. Back then I was alone, and I hope some could have understand at time, not like to join my fight, but even for their own self. Because we are watching the landscape today, the situation that are going on today is the same thing that I've been saying all these years. and those people, they are facing the same situation, right? But it's at least a good thing that people are aware of it. And that's why I'm trying to like push back all this narrative, because they want to spread out this narrative to scare other fighters that want to claim a better position for them, a better thing, you know. And that's why I
May have lost him.
We'll grab him back.
You know, I knew when I always knew in a moment. Chris Avila's sits there, and also Cuban, but I believe in a Mariah.
yes.
So we lost the connection there. You were saying that's why you're pushing back on the narrative.
Yes, because they are planting some narrative out there to like scare fighter. Some fighter must be like, oh, I don't want to leave. I'm not happy here, but I don't want to leave because they are afraid of like what they have done to me, or the narrative, or that they have spread out there that put pressure on them, you know. But I just want to say like that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You know, if some people are good where they are, that's not problem. But if you're not good, it's your right. It's your full right for every single fighter, whether doesn't matter the organization. If you're not happy of where you are not happy, and it's your right to get.
I'll give Francis this credit right here. It's a big compliment for Francis right here. But it's like, you know, Francis, I'll credit you. And I'll say that, like, damn, homie. I mean, the thing about you is you thought that you were worth more, and you were willing to you know, take it to the end of the earth, essentially. You were willing to take an L. You know, that was an option on the table for sure when you were trying to get your worth by leaving the UFC. And you were totally okay with that risk, and that is not the same courage that 99% of the UFC roster has, and you know 98% of the UFC roster complains. But it's just worth noting that, you know, Francis, yeah, he took the chance of everything crumbling underneath him as well. Who could have known that PFL was going to pay him a lot of money? I see Eric saying Ngannou leaving the UFC could have and probably should have been a mistake. Fortunately for Francis, PFL was willing to pay for that mistake. And so that's why I kind of say credit to Francis, because he's one of the only ones. You know, I think even Nate Diaz's departure, so to speak, was a bit more on the up and up. You know, Francis leaving as the active heavyweight champion, I mean, it almost seemed like an L at the time, throwing away, you know, the championship pay and all this stuff. But it worked out for him because he had the courage, you know, to step out and take the gamble of a negative thing happening to him or potentially a very positive thing happening to him. And luckily for him, several positive things happened for him, you know, including in the PFL and those 2 boxing matches as well. And I'm sure this Jake Paul bag ain't hurting at all either. But I just want to get on the active UFC fighters because that thought has crossed my mind. It's like, you know, you guys, you complain and all this stuff, but like you're not willing to take one for the team. You know, you guys are all the same people who will protect your own pockets and your own opportunities within the promotion if you can be one of the good boys inside the house. You know, you're the house dog. So I don't know. Like that's Gaethje. Gaethje's the house dog. You know, he speaks about fighter pay, but as soon as it gets sweet for him, he's gonna be, you know, mum's the word, and I don't respect it. I can't respect it. I won't respect it. You know, I don't respect that shit, and I respect Francis for doing that. Like I said, this really isn't a bash Francis topic at all. I'll get into Francis, but again, Ariel's the one tricking him. So I'm more upset with Ariel for what I'm about to get into, but this ain't a bashing Francis topic at all. In fact, I was trying to tell you guys that Ariel's putting this story out of woe is me, Francis leaving the UFC was an L. And I'm trying to tell you guys that like nobody really thinks that, bro. Like we criticize the Felipe Lins fight. Shoot me. Shoot me because I criticize the Felipe Lins fight. Oh my gosh, bro. More gaslighting from Ariel. It's just this dude like is a master gaslighter. Eric says, I honestly don't think Francis understood the risk he took. I think he just bought into his own hype and was lucky enough that it worked out for him. Eric, in so many words, we might have a slight differences in how we might have worded that, but that sentiment I pretty much can agree with. I mean, yeah, and either way, I guess it worked out. But I know what you're trying to say. I see what you're trying to say, and I've also had that same type of sentiment going on in my head. You know, it was a bit more of a stubbornness, and you know the saying, right? There's a saying, ignorance is bliss. You know, and for Francis, you know, his self pride and his ignorance put together, shit, it worked out for him. You know, he has a ton of pride, which is, I think, kind of what you're saying in a way. You know, you're saying like he didn't understand the risk he took. You know, he bought into his own hype, aka he has a lot of pride. That's why I'm saying we say it differently. But like, and then it worked out for him, you know. And that's an elaborate thought. So shit, I can't even repeat it twice. You might have to just rewind it to catch that thought the first time around. But well, I'm just saying, you know, the ignorance is bliss. And his pride mixed with the ignorance, it did work out for him. You know, I would say with Francis, yeah, it was more of a mix of pride and ignorance why he left the UFC. For good or for bad, but obviously it was for good. So we're going to get into the Jon Jones situation. This one's one I'm going to jump down Ariel's throat a little bit. But so we'll just see in a second. JP says Ariel should have never released the interview with Nick Diaz. I mean, first off, that's like a long time ago. Why is that on your mind right now? What's I know what you're trying to say. Nick wasn't in the best situation, but I mean, so much other stuff has come out about Nick since then. Like, let me know what you think. Why you think he shouldn't have posted it. Tom says he's the closest human being to a pit bull. Francis, does he look like a pit bull right there? Justin KO's Ilya head kick. I disagree, Frank. We got 19. Oh, 19 viewers. Shit, we were up at 31 at one point in time. We'll get it up to 50. We'll get it up to 50 if we have some good stuff to talk about. But I don't think, you know, Netflix main card in the thumbnail is going to get us up to 50 on the evening. We'll see.
It out of.
Let's manifest it. We want 50 concurrent on the evening. Let's listen to Francis again.
You know, like we are independent contractor. So that doesn't oblige you. You are not like an employee that you have to sign up somewhere and work for multiple years. You can sign up somewhere and then fight for, I don't know, 1 fight, 2 fight, whatever is the deal, and then move on. Just decide to move on, to go somewhere else. Is your right. That's how the business is. Because you keep believing that, oh, I'm this, I'm that, but whenever somebody want to cut you, you have no guarantee. You know, so it's something that is very, he needs to be more spoken about. And then when I saw Ronda talk about it, yeah, I was actually happy to see that a lot of people started to see, and a lot of people would talk about it, and most people would understand.
Francis, why do you think, if you could still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Why do you think so many fighters are afraid to speak up like you did, to bet on themselves, to take these chances? Why do you feel like that is the case?
Oh, because of oppression. Don't you see, since I left, don't you see what they're trying to do? All this blah, 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 all the thing, like all the narrative, trying to drive. The mission have always been like to destroy Francis, to damage Francis, you know? By the way, tell me about somebody that have left and then went out and be something, you know, basically as a champion. First of all, nobody have left as a champion.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to close that door, lock all these things. I don't know if it's true. I haven't heard that even the sunset clause doesn't longer exist. I hope it's not true, but.
You know, recently they signed, Zuffa Boxing signed Conor Benn to this one-fight, $15 million deal. And Dana White was asked about it. And he said, why wouldn't you be happy if you're another fighter,
So start listening now. This is where I'm going to kind of get on Ariel. The dude is just disingenuous, so it just needs to be said one time.
why wouldn't you be happy to see another fighter make a lot of money? Why wouldn't you be happy for them? Why wouldn't you want to celebrate that? And can I just ask? I thought of you. I thought of you.
They should be happy of making their own money. You know, happiness could also start from your own self. You don't have to always be happy for people. Yes, it's good to be happy from seeing someone make money, but when you're making money too, not when you're going broke. Not where you're taking a fight, maybe with injury because you have $100 in your bank account and trying to make a living, provide for your family. Yes, when you see something like that, and then maybe you've been in the organization for all this year, doing all this fight, of course you get pissed. I would have get pissed too. I didn't get pissed about that. It didn't bother me because I was in the better position, right? That's no longer my problem. I don't have that kind of problem anymore.
I thought of you when he said that because I remember when he announced at the press conference, Dana White did, that you were leaving the UFC. He didn't say, I'm happy for Francis that he's going to go out there and make more money. When you signed with PFL, he didn't say, I'm happy for Francis, or you should be happy for Francis. When you signed to fight Tyson Fury, he did not say that. He said Francis didn't want the tough fights. Francis didn't want the Jon Jones fight. And so there's a bit of there's some hypocrisy, I should say, some hypocrisy there. So I wonder if you see this stuff and you feel the same way when you see it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have still be happy for Conor Benz even if they have gave him 30 million. Meanwhile, other people should have get money too. I mean, there are hundreds of fighters that are out there fighting for the organization, making money for them, and then feel like to be in the position that they feel like they are less of a fighter, less of an athlete, because like this guy just came around and they give him this money, which is an amount that none of them might have never seen. It's like, it's frustrating.
Eddie Hearn continues to say that when the UFC fighters start to see what the boxers in Zuffa Boxing are making, there's going to be a revolt. Do you think that's going to happen?
That's gonna happen if people are, if a fighter are aware of the situation. If they don't still get trapped with this story, because they are good of telling story, of making narrative, and then people get trapped into. For example, they will keep telling this guy that they are fighting for like the best event, for this, for legacy, or the blah, blah, blah.
Jon Jones came out and said they offered him $15 million to fight on the White House card. He asked for 30. He was willing to go down, but once he said no to the 15, they said, all right, we're moving on. I know you spoke a little bit about it at the time, but we have new information now. How do you feel about all of this, how it's played out with Jon, who at the time was trying to get the fight with you in 2020? You were trying to get the fight with him, but he was asking for money and they couldn't come to terms back then.
Well, I would say I know the tactic. I know the house tactic, so I'm more to believe what Jon Jones say.
Yeah.
When I see, I can understand. I can read between lines. I know how he works out there, and I 100% believe that. I mean, maybe 95% or 98% believe on what Jon Jones say.
Do you think Jon Jones is right in this case? Does he deserve more than that, more than they were offering?
Of course, Jon Jones deserves that. What are you talking about? Jon Jones been in this organization for how long? Jon Jones been a champion since he was 23, I think, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is, 15 years or over 15 years? If there is somebody that deserves something nowadays, like just even to pay him tribute, is Jon Jones. Jon Jones needs to get paid, maybe not only for the fight that he's fighting, but for what he have done for the sport. For where he have taken the sport to. Like, isn't the Jon Jones that they are out there bragging that he's a GOAT? Man, if the GOAT is not respected, then who should be respected? I worry if the GOAT is being treated like that.
Okay, so here it is. Here it is. The moment we've been waiting for. The moment we've been waiting for, you know. I wonder why the GOAT gets treated like that. You know, what's the deal? What's the deal? You know, I can't believe that the GOAT's not getting 30 million. Well, this is where the power of context comes into play, and Ariel's just blindsiding past it, asking these questions to Francis, and I don't respect it. I can't respect it. I won't respect it. I won't respect it, and I can't respect it. He's going ahead and doing this right now, and he's leaving out all the context, bro. And then Francis is low-key kind of falling for it because of, his status within the UFC too. But, the storyline with this, once again, bro, Jon Jones retired. And speaking about that whole GOAT stuff real quick, if the GOAT doesn't do this, I thought Dana called him the GOAT. All right. Dana was setting up Jon. This is the thing about Dana and Jon that people didn't realize at the time, and it was sitting right in front of their face. And I was sitting here seeing it. And I just didn't really stream as much at the time, so I didn't really have the opportunity to say this and tell people. But here's the situation. Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic. Dana White allowed that to go through. He stroked Jon's ego. This is where he promoted Jon as, the GOAT, the greatest fighter. What was all that for? It was to, on the back end, have Jon get his ass beat, in theory, right, in hopes, by Tom Aspinall. We're going to build up Jon, build up this big old name, and then we're going to feed him to Tom Aspinall after Stipe Miocic. Jon Jones, in my opinion, saw through that as well. He saw that Dana was being extra nice to him and glazing him up because he knew that he wanted him to fight Tom Aspinall. Dana was being a good little boy when he wanted something after Jon fought Stipe, and Dana knew on the back end that, he doesn't really need to hang around. He could easily retire. He's up there in age. He's been in here forever. He might not want to risk it against Tom. So Dana's play was to glaze him and be super nice to him. But that's not always how their relationship has been. And I'll give you one example. Jon Jones turning down the Chael Sonnen fight when his original opponent fell out. Okay? So that was that little dynamic that was going on with Jon and Dana when Jon was booked to fight Stipe. As soon as the Stipe fight's over, Dana's hoping, I can cash in on all the glazing now. Jon's going to do right by me. I glazed him up. Jon's naive and he didn't see it coming, even though it was pretty obvious. Dana did not do a good job of masking up his true intentions because I'm voicing his intentions right now to you guys. And so, I believe that Jon, to some degree, also retired to get the ultimate one-up on Dana. Right? Because we all know, bro, the writing was on the wall that Dana was glazing him and being nice to him so that he would fight Tom Aspinall and not give him any troubles. And I think Jon saw it, and Jon retired as well as the ultimate one-up on Dana. Bro, I took the bag, and I know you were being nice to me just because you wanted me to fight Tom. You don't even really fuck with me like that. Let's keep it a buck. And I'm a retire. I'm not going to go get my ass beat. I'm not going to be an overdrawn, I'm not going to be your dog that you're going to wheel out time and time and again and be this old dog who has his day. I'm going to go out on my terms. And if I don't feel right about the Aspinall fight, if I don't want to be dicked around about it, not fighting on my terms, then I'm not going to do it. And that's exactly what he didn't do. He did not do it. He retired and everything. Follow me, though. Follow me. So you hear all that context. That's all the context. So, of course, Dana was really mad at Jon because Jon retired and Dana was nice to him. On a little evil tip, though, because he wasn't being nice because he really wants to be nice. We already know that by now, right? Okay, so that's why he was pissed off because Jon saw through it. Dana didn't get what he ultimately wanted. Dana wasn't just being... I know I keep saying it, but it's like Dana wasn't just being nice to Jon because he wanted something out of it. So, of course, it's even more upsetting when, the play doesn't work. So I need you guys to understand how mad and how upsetting that would be for a guy like Dana, who didn't really mean the things he said, So he was really upset, and that's why I believe Dana when he says Jon was never going to be on the UFC White House card. But let's rewind it a little bit because before Dana even said Jon's never going to be on the White House card, before Jon ever even asked to be on the White House card, the White House card was announced. Jon was retired. The UFC cut their losses when they had accepted the White House fight for Donald Trump's birthday. Jon was nowhere to be seen. He was fresh out of retirement. And so that's what I think a lot of people miss, because then Jon came out and he said, I want to return. So then the UFC, and then that's when Dana said, you know, Jon's never going to be returning. You know, especially we would never let him headline UFC White House. But that's the chronology of the events that took place. Why would the UFC need Jon Jones for UFC White House when they agreed to the UFC White House when Jon Jones was still retired? The only reason why Jon came out of retirement, he's still technically retired, but the only reason why he came out of retirement was because the White House card got announced. The UFC had already said yes to it. That if Jon was such a finalizing component, a finalizing factor, why would they have said yes to the White House card knowing Jon was retired? It's because they knew they could sell it without him. And so now people want me to believe that when Jon Jones voluntarily says, okay, I'm coming back to fight on UFC White House, that the UFC was just like, oh, goody, hooray. Hooray, Jon Jones is back. We can't wait to do business with him. You guys really think that that's the case? And so I say all that to say that Francis Ngannou, or not Francis Ngannou, but Francis is here saying like Jon's worth 30 million. Why did they offer him 15 million? And that's why, guys, that's why Jon didn't get the 30 million. Keep in mind that the UFC already offered Jon the 30 million to fight Tom, and Jon turned it down. Ariel already reported that, but now Ariel playing coy. Now he got amnesia. Now he forgets about all that other stuff that took place. And he's here asking Francis why the UFC didn't want to give Jon 30 million. You know, maybe because everything I just told you guys. So yeah, Jon's the GOAT, and yeah, he's all these things that Francis just kind of laid out there, but there's so much more context that they leave out. And that's why Jon was never going to be on UFC White House for the millionth time. That's why the $30 million payday, no, he's not getting it, bro. There's so much context behind it. So you mean to tell me after all that fuckery that Jon Jones did to the UFC, he just gets to come back and get that 30 million that they offered that he turned down in the first place? No, bro, you get less now. That's just how business works in general. Straight how it works in general. But now we're going revisionist history. We're going like, you know, like Jon Jones was never offered 30 million before Conor Benn was given his 15 million. You know, we're doing this bullshit backwards now, and we're acting like we forgot all this shit. Jon, the UFC knew Jon was worth more than 15 million. They offered him 30. Yeah, they offered Conor Benn 15, and now they're offering Jon 15. But I just explained that's because Jon did him dirty, and he turned down the 30 million anyway. Now you get less, bro. On your hands and knees and beg for it. You know, so that's the whole boom right there. And you don't get that anywhere else. You straight don't get that anywhere else, boys. So, you know, I got everybody sitting in here now listening to that, huh? Because the viewership was going down while Francis is talking. So it looks like you guys were just waiting to get the truth bomb, you know, dropped on you. And that, you know, that's the story. That's why this whole 50 million in this whole debacle about, or 30 million and Jon not getting it. Bro, of course he didn't get it. The UFC offered it and he denied it and then retired. And then said, I'll come out of retirement now and fight at the UFC White House. Even Jon was willing to take a pay cut. Even Jon himself knew he's not worth that 30 million no more. But the UFC, you know, he did the UFC so dirty, they said, shit, we don't even give a fuck what you think you're worth, even if it's less than 30. We're giving you 15 and that's final, and you still might not even get the call. You know, we might just honey dick you, bro, because you did us dirty. I told you guys, Jon got the final one step up on the UFC by retiring. He got the final step up on these dudes. After Dana glazed him, that does not go lightly, bro. Dana does not just glaze anyone, and all of that shit he took for months, almost years. You know? That's that whole story, boys. That's the whole story. And you guys are just way too fucking quiet in the chat, but I guess it's just because I just dropped all facts, huh? All facts. What up, HT? What's poppin'? Good to see you in here. I was wondering where HT was. I was wondering where one of the top soldiers were. Tom says, insult for UFC to offer half. I wonder if you still think that, Tom. I wonder if you still think it was an insult for the UFC to offer half with all the context that I just provided you. Like, genuinely, if you still think it was an insult, I ain't mad at it. You know, but I would just like to know, like, with all that context, do you still think it was an insult that the UFC offered him half? Like, maybe you forgot that the UFC did offer him 30, bro. Because Ariel, you know, that's why I don't fuck with Ariel, bro. He do weasel shit like that. Ariel do weasel shit like that, bro. We got Kevin from Chicago in this bitch. What's poppin', Kevin? Perfecto says, my boy hyped up. I'm hyped. Well, I'm not that hyped. It's just, that's how I get when I got to explain things. Because it's like, bro, it's almost mind-numbing. You know, it's almost mind-numbing to hear this talk about Jon Jones day after day. And Ariel's like, you know, clip farming. And again, he does this against Dana all the time because he really doesn't like Dana. And it's like, dude, Ariel like a scorned woman, bro. Oh my gosh. Like never, you know, Ariel like a scorned woman to Dana. Wrath has no fury like a scorned woman, however the fuck that saying goes. Frank Herrera says Justin will submit Ilya. No knockout needed. Okay, now Frank, you're tripping. Now you're tripping, Frank. Why Justin will submit Ilya? Now you're tripping, homie. Justin Gaethje doesn't even know how to submit. That's why he camps out in the front headlock every time he drops his opponent. And then he drops a YouTube instructional. It's like, oh my gosh, bro. We are not teaching people to camp out in the front headlock. We're teaching people how to get out of there quick after dropping their opponent. And that's with a submission. Frank's keeping me updated on the chat. That's hilarious. 7 people left, Franklin. Shoot. Goodbye, boys. Goodbye, boys. I don't know where else you'd be going. Let's just listen to the rest of this real quick, though. Just to hear if there's anything else, but that's probably all of it.
I truly worry if that's how they treat the goat. Then those who are not the goat, I don't know, whatever they are, well, imagine what they are going through.
You did mention earlier the sunset clause. Now the issue is he signs a long-term deal, I believe before the Cyril fight, which was just 2 fights ago. He'll never get out of that contract. He asks for his release. They're not going to release him, right? Why would they release him?
No. He will not. He will not get out of that.
So
I think the mistake was if he had signed that fight before that contract, as the rumor said before the Syrian gun fight. I think that was a mistake, and then he will most likely not get out
and never fight again as a result.
I don't know. It depends on what they are willing to do, on what he's down to do.
So let's just end it there and just know that, like, yeah, Jon may never fight again, and it's because of what he did. You know, you don't get to, you know, I don't know who needs to know this, but you don't get to have the final one up on the UFC and leave the way you did and then come back and just shit is like, you know, right where you left it. Nah, bro. They got vendettas now. And like, who knows if they want to do business with you anymore, and they got you locked in forever. So yeah, I mean, who knows if he'll ever fight again? You know, who knows? Here's the truth, man. Who knows if Jon and the UFC will ever come to terms? See, it's like Ariel knows the truth, but he doesn't want to say it, but then he goes to it, you know? Why do you think that they would never come to terms? Because Ariel knows the truth, bro. It's because Jon fucked him over in the negotiations with the Tom Aspinall fight and retired. See, because if Jon didn't get booked for UFC White House per se, right? Neither did Conor McGregor. We're talking about Conor McGregor fighting in July. The UFC, they don't fuck with Jon Jones like period anymore. And Jon doesn't even want to come back for a regular fight if it's not UFC White House. So what are we even wasting our breath about on Jon Jones all the time for? Jon, okay, so let's see. You know, Jon, you want to do business and fight outside UFC White House? I've already heard that he doesn't want to do that. Jon's already been on record saying, I just wanted to return for UFC White House. If UFC White House never got announced, I wouldn't have asked for to come out of retirement. But now Jon wants to fight everywhere, right? Now he wants to fight everywhere because he disingenuously said it, asking for a release from his contract from Dana. This whole thing is so ass backwards, and part of it is because we're dealing with Jon, and part of it is because we're dealing with Ariel, and part of it is because we're also dealing with Dana, and we got 3 disingenuous people. Jon asking for his release and shit like that, insinuating that he's not really done. Bro is done, bro. Bro retired. Bro would not have came back if UFC White House didn't get announced. The UFC probably doesn't want to do business with Jon anymore because of how much he fucked him over after the Stipe fight. Whether or not Jon wants to come back for something after, regardless of if it's UFC White House. But Ariel's on here saying, I'm saying all this to say Ariel's on here saying Jon will never fight again. And why would he say that? Because he knows the truth of everything I've been telling you guys for the last like 15 minutes. Because Jon Jones' situation is not like the Conor situation, but people are kind of conflating the two. They're almost making it seem like, Jon's getting done dirty and Conor's getting done dirty. Nah, bro, Conor's getting done dirty to some degree. And, Jon's situation is way different. Basically in simple terms, the UFC is still willing to do business and work with McGregor. The UFC is not really willing to do business and deal with Jon Jones because of everything I said after the Stipe Miocic fight. Like everything I said after that. And Ariel knows it too, but he's acting like Jon also deserved 30 million at the same time. Do you guys see? So Jon's never going to fight again because he didn't come to terms with the UFC to compete on UFC White House. But he also was owed 30 million. I mean, I know it might be confusing for you guys to understand, but listen, maybe rewind it or something. I don't know. You got to listen to that take a couple of times. And I'm speaking about Ariel, saying Ariel's being disingenuous about this topic and pushing this narrative that the UFC is too cheap to pay Jon Jones 30 million. And the UFC is too cheap to pay Ilia Topuria. They're not too cheap to pay Jon Jones. This is what I'm saying about why the Ilia versus Islam fight didn't happen, because the UFC didn't want to pay for that because they blew the money on production. So I hope that helps. But Jon, he's never going to fight again, but the UFC should have gave him 30 million. Just think about it. What the fuck? How does that even make any sense? If he really is worth, a $30 million number and the UFC is willing to pay that out, then I'm sure they'd be willing to do business and get that deal done like they're trying to actively do with Conor right now. Why are they still dealing with Conor, but they're not dealing with Jon? Could it be because of everything I've been explaining to you guys that everybody is seeming to forget and taking a blind eye to? Dude, all that context means something. All of that context means something. And essentially, just to cut it dry one last time, if you take your situation and you leave the UFC on a 1-up, okay, you got the foot up on the UFC, meaning you stole the leverage. Like the UFC, they carried your groceries up to the car or up to the apartment for you. Like they did all that shit for you, and then you just said peace out, no tip. That's what Jon Jones did when he retired, bro. He said, peace out, no tip. The tip was supposed to be fighting Tom Aspinall and doing the favor back for the UFC, doing the chip back in good faith because of what the UFC did for him. So I think that's enough times of saying it. Is that enough times of saying it or what? Jon was never going to get 30 million, bro. And even Jon knew it. So there we go. For the final time, let's stop talking about Jon Jones and UFC White House and whether or not he was worth 30 million. That whole thing was a clown show to begin with. Jon saying he wanted to compete on UFC White House was a clown move to begin with. It was a clown move to begin with. Dana shut it down right away. Things got cloudy, and now we just are in this big old mess. And I just cleaned it up for you. So if you guys want to rewind it anytime, go ahead. Listen to it tomorrow. But I just cleared it up for you guys. And we shouldn't keep going over this. Let's talk about why Ilia versus Islam didn't happen, if anything. Not this BS, bro. That's just like serving, you know, what you guys are doing. Anyone who wants to buy into that, you're just serving Ariel's little like vendetta he has against the UFC. You know, Ariel keeps talking about it because he got a vendetta against the UFC. It's annoying. He loves this Jon Jones and Dana beef, and I don't get it, bro. It's super disingenuous. That's all I could say. Brian C says they don't need to put Connor on the White House since they aren't selling tickets. They need him in front of a crowd so he can sell tickets. Yes. Yes. We have talked about that in some of the previous streams. And Connor said that in his interview, you know, with Chael Sonnen recently. So that's when we talked about it. Frank says should be Connor versus Ilya at the White House. Well, I'd have to disagree. I don't really want to see Connor fight Ilya, number one. And number two, like Brian C said, Connor wouldn't be fighting on the White House because the White House is already sold. But I just want you guys to know that should piss you guys off as fans too, you know. That should piss you guys off as fans too, you know. The fact that the UFC, you know, they basically count your money already, and so they won't deliver to you. I mean, do you guys get it or not? Like the UFC, they think that UFC White House is going to sell based off of the promotion alone. So they're not really going to deliver the best fights on there for us because they're going to deliver the best fights on a different card so they can maximize profits there. But they think that the difference between adding a Connor and not adding a Connor isn't going to be a significant financial difference. They have more profits to reap by not putting a Connor on the card and underpaying Ilia Topuria to fight Justin Gaethje. You know, but they think that because they just guaranteeing your buy. And I get it, we're always gonna buy, but I don't like it that the UFC takes. Let me put it like this: I don't like it that the UFC takes our loyal viewership for granted, and then in turn, what do they do with our loyal viewership? They give us less than what we really are clamoring for. You know what I mean? They give us less than what we're clamoring for. And so that kind of pisses me off low key. You know, we have the most loyal viewership ever for you guys. And what do we get in return for that? Oh, they'll watch anyway. So let's move this. Let's not make this card as good as we could. Let's make another card. You know, you guys get what I'm saying. You guys get what I'm saying. Let's not put McGregor on this card. Let's put him on the other one that's not going to sell. Right? This one's already going to sell. No need to put McGregor on here. Read between the lines, boys. Read between the lines. That's taking advantage of your viewership. This is just going to sell anyway. Let's not put Connor on here. The people fans want to see. Connor would destroy Ilya, says Frank. Again, Frank is tripping, and Frank came in here with some good takes, but Frank been tripping a little bit. Connor versus Ilya. Connor destroys Ilya. Justin subs Ilya. It's like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Do you hate Ilya? I'm just catching on now. You might have a hatred towards Ilya or something. Is that what it is? Anyway, let's look at this Volkanovski topic. And honestly, I don't even think I have the Ollie Revival Act topic in me today. We might just kind of brush over that. We'll see. But nah, let's look at this Volk. So Volk not interested in fighting Gene Silva next. Calls out number one contender Movsar Evloev. I feel like we're just taking the piss. Movsar is the tougher fight and gonna look way better in the resume for my legacy. So I've already explained some of this to you guys. The clip I'm referring to is not attached in here. But what I explained to you guys, you know, is that Gene Silva is not as favorable for Volk on the legacy. And when it comes to hindsight, it's even less favorable for Volk on the legacy because Volk's afraid that Gene Silva, if he leapfrogs Movsar Evloev, that he's going to go on a losing streak after he loses to him. And then people are going to say, you know, what kind of title reign did Volk have? And Volk wants to have an elite title reign. So he wants Movsar Evloev. So the quote is this, though. I'm pretty sure they're on the same page. They, UFC, know I've wanted Movsar. I've wanted Movsar the whole time because he's been number one contender the whole time. I have fought other people to do the UFC a solid, but now I feel like we're just taking the piss, and we're just going against what martial arts has always been about. That's what I thought the UFC's always been about. The best fight the best. We've always talked about boxing not doing that, but UFC has. Let's not start changing that now. I want to fight the best. Legacy does play a big part. Fighting Movsar is a tougher fight and is going to look way better on the resume for my Legacy. Movsar's the guy and will make that happen. So, I mean, shout out to Volk, man. And anyone saying that Gene Silva, or he's ducking Gene Silva, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. And you need to be called an idiot to your face. So hopefully no idiots are in the chat. But if you are in the chat, you know who you are now.
What happens if they push Silva 2? Is there a chance that happens instead?
I mean, everyone knows what type of champion I am. I just don't know how many times can I just keep not fighting the number one contender? He was a number one contender, he was already number one contender. Just fought number 3. Both of them guys were in front of everyone else pretty much. Diego Lopez, he's number 2. So, but I just fought him twice. So these are the 2 top guys, and they had to face each other, and then you did have a winner. And yeah, so it's obviously clearly going to be Movsar. I mean, you know, everyone knows I'm a pretty easy champ to understand, and I will fight the best. But you know, even if the UFC push something, I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. But you know, it's going to come to a point where it's like, what are we doing here? We're just like, you know, we're just wasting my.
What happens if they push?
So we'll see what happens, see what the UFC says. I'm pretty sure they're on the same page. They know I wanted Movsar. I've wanted Movsar the whole time because he's been number one contender the whole time. And I have fought other people to do the UFC a solid. But now I feel like we're just taking the piss and then we're just going against what combat and martial arts has always been about. It's the best, and that's what I've always thought UFC is about as well. We're the best fight the best. We've always talked about boxing and all that, not doing that, but UFC have, and we always have. Let's not start changing that now, right? Like I want to fight the best because I want, you know, again, I fight for my family. That's always number one. But legacy does play a big part. Fighting Movsar is a tougher fight and it's going to look way better on the resume and for my legacy. Then, to be honest, I leave Roman Murphy, even if Roman Murphy won, a Silva, a Lopez. Who else is there? Aljamain Sterling, obviously. Aljamain Sterling's another guy that's... So we'll see what happens, see what the Sterling's another guy that's right up there, a next champion and all that, but Movsar beat him, you know what I mean? So it just shows you that this guy is the guy, and we'll make that happen. Sterling's another guy that's...
Okay, so Movsar's the guy and we'll make that happen. I mean, that's pretty much the story. And I mean, I completely agree, bro. Movsar's the guy, and I'll take it a step further. I'm done with these people who got personalities. I want the best versus the best. And I know in the past I've been a victim of like these personality type things. And I'm just here to say that I'm done with the personalities. If you got a personality and you win all your fights, kudos to you, you know, brownie points. But if you got a good personality, but there's somebody better than you, I do not want you over, you know, leapfrogging the person better than you. And, you know, Exhibit A is going to be the Paddy Pimblett and Armand situation that happened. Now, I do think that Paddy proved himself quite a bit in the UFC up to the point, and people were really just docking Paddy. So maybe Paddy's not the best example, but, you know, if you're going off number one contender, right, it should have been Armand. And I just want it to be, you know, I want it to be number one contenders from now on. I want it to be the best fight the best. And yeah, I think there's more negatives to come from the whole manufacturing and putting these names up in these opportunities. There's a lot more bad things that happen when it doesn't work out in the favor. Like, and we're seeing it right now with Paddy and how it didn't work out. And now, you know, we got Gaethje versus Ilya instead of Armand versus Ilya, which it should have been. You know, it should have been Armand versus Paddy. Armand would have beat Paddy, and then it would have been Armand versus Ilya. And I think that would have been so much more overall, right? Better in general. Meaning if Paddy was going to lose, he should have lost to Armand, not Gaethje. And then that would have set up the Ilya versus Armand fight. So I want the best versus the best now, and that's the reason why, because, you know, Gaethje ends up beating Paddy, which I think Paddy, if he was going to lose to anybody, it should have been Armand. And then now we got Gaethje versus Ilya, you know, another, you know, a fight that we don't really want. So the best need to be fighting the best, bro. And then we got it with Diego Lopez too. Yeah, man. The best need to fight the best. I'm over all that shit, man. Super over it. Super over all the personalities, man. Shit, your personality ain't finna save you. You need to win your fights. And I want the best fighting the best. That's why even a little bit I was a bit apprehensive with Max Holloway and fighting McGregor, just because it's another one of those things in the direction of the best not fighting the best. But people get hung up on little details about like, let Max Holloway make his money. And I'm getting to a point where it's like, you know what, bro? That's the fundamental issue with the UFC. And well, there's two things. You know, one, if these fighters aren't going to get their worth, then what the fuck do I care? And number two, we shouldn't, you know, at a point in Max Holloway's career, it shouldn't be like, oh, he's trying to get the money now. He should have already had the money, and he should be fighting the number one contender, so to speak. So, you know, I know that even for me, I feel like the hardest fight for Max is like an Arman Sarukian. And obviously Arman shouldn't fight Max because he's the number one contender and Max is coming off a loss. But I think Max should work his way into that type of picture, you know, go fight a Gamrot then, you know, go fight more contenders. But then people are going to say, but let him make his money. And it's like, bro, I get it. Let him make his money. But shit, bro, I mean, can the UFC just pay these guys so we don't have to do that and let them the best fight the best? Like, shit, bro. I just want the best to fight the best now. Even if Arman is going to end up beating Max Holloway down the road or some shit like that. Like, I just want the best versus the best. And I've said it like 30 times, so that's all I'll say about it. Brian C says, Volk needs to stand his ground and refuse to fight Silva, but they might strip him. I don't think they would strip him just because of everything he's been doing for them and the fact that he, you know, fought Lopez the second time. Also stepped up the second time against Islam. So, you know, Volk got multiple favors in the bank. But I was also going to say this, Volkanovski. Well, I got the clip for you, actually. I got a clip for you. It's crazy how little interest I have in this Izzy versus Pyfer fight. It's like, I don't care to hear you guys talk. I will see the fight when the fight happens, but I could give a fuck about hearing what you guys got to say. It honestly barely has any historical importance. Speaking of Gene Silva. Oh my gosh, homie did this for 3 minutes. It's a 3-minute clip. I don't got time for a 3-minute clip right now. I got a different thing I'm trying to find. Let's hear this one.
Let me explain this to people as well. I beat, like, you know, without sounding cocky, I'm very confident I beat all these guys. Silva, Lerone Murphy, Movza, all of them. You know what I mean? Very confident. Obviously Lopez. People are going to say, oh, he's scared of this guy, scared of that guy. It's ridiculous. I look at fighting the best for one. That's always going to come first. Then if we talk legacy, who do we want? I want the undefeated guy that's beat all the other contenders, all the top guys. Because I know that beating him is going to look very good on my resume because of already his record and who he's beat. But I'm confident he's going to keep beating all the other fighters after that. So I know that's still going to age well. I'll be honest, with the Silva situation, he's yet to prove himself. He had, he fought a top guy and lost, a guy that I beat twice, quite comfortably. And then, you know, I go and fight him and I beat him, which I quite confident I'll do, you know, without being cocky. And then he starts losing to your Movzars and Lerone Murphys and all that. People are going to look back at that and be like, why did he fight that guy? Like, you literally would. He was ranked number 6. He had 1 win. He didn't beat any top guys. What's going on here? Why did he even fight him? And that's who's going to even remember that? So I try and again, I'll fight whoever the UFC say. But I mean, how many times am I just going to fight guys that are undeserving when there's a clear number one guy? I did that enough. I'm in a situation now where, I'm going to be like, come on, this is getting ridiculous now. Now you're making me look like the bad guy, but not fighting the number one guy as well. I don't want anything to do with that. I want the best guys. He's clearly showed he's the best.
Like, bro's about to fucking have his eyeballs pop out of his head. He's so, like, frustrated. He's like, bro, like, can we please just, like, cut the bullshit? Like, I've even obliged you fools. But now I'm hearing, like, this shit about Gene Silva again. Like, at least shut it down. Dana's like, when we announce it, you'll know. Oh, my gosh, bro. You got Volk tripping now. I showed you guys 2 different little segments from that YouTube video. This is a 3rd segment from the same YouTube video. So Volk said he like me right now. He's telling us 3 different times, 3 different ways why it should be Movsar and not Volk. Or sorry, and not Gene Silva. Right? But this is the 3rd way of him saying it. When it comes down to the legacy and what's going to happen with Gene after he loses and shit like that to him, he's going to lose to other people too. So what's the other ones again? Like taking the piss and shit like that. You guys saw it earlier. It's late here, so shit, I'm not going to remember right now. But there was another one I wanted to, oh yeah, we're going against MMA, so we want to honor MMA by the best fight the best. So he's saying, right? Gene's not going to look good on my legacy, so to speak, because he's going to lose to people after he loses to me. Then he says, we should respect MMA by giving Movsar the title shot. Then he shows his frustration with people pushing Gene Silva instead of Movsar. So it's like he literally 3 different ways told us that, bro, give me Movsar. Cut the bullshit. I think he did a beautiful job explaining himself 3 different times. I ain't even trolling him either. It's like sometimes this shit needs to get through people's head, because I'm sure we'll still have some people saying that he's scary of Gene Silva. Now, this is the clip I've been looking for that I want to show you guys. And here's a bit of a quote. So Volk goes, spam wrestling with me. Or he goes, spam wrestle with me. That's his message to Movsar. Volkanovski dares Movsar to bring heavy wrestling. The quote goes, I know it ain't going to be a boring fight with me because you ain't holding me down. I don't want you to feel like you have to strike with me. I don't want any excuses. I want you trying to spam wrestle because I know you ain't going to get them. He's obviously a winner. He knows how to win, and I want him to try that with me just to show him that. Yeah. Or just to show him that, yeah, you know how to win, but not, or, oh my God, sorry. Just to show him that, yeah, you know how to win, but not against me. So we'll play this clip, but before we even play this clip, I just want to say this to you guys because it pertains to the last one where he said he's very confident that he beats all these guys, Movsar, Gene Silva, Lerone even. Bro, and he's saying right here, spam wrestle me, and he's confident he's going to beat Movsar again in a different way. Bro, if he beats Movsar, this dude really is the GOAT. Like, this dude is the closest thing we got to a Floyd Mayweather in MMA. I know that Jon Jones is the real undefeated guy, and he might be the closer thing to Floyd Mayweather. But just on a pure skill level, on an equal skill level where you don't have attributes over people, that's what made Floyd Mayweather so special, right? Is that he wasn't always much taller than his opponents, or he didn't have a crazy long reach or anything like that. He didn't have a lot of power. He was on the same level as his opponents, and he was beating them based off techniques, right? Jon is very technical too, but Jon also uses his attributes to his benefit. And Volkanovski doesn't necessarily have a lot of attributes to use to his benefit, aka height and reach. He's not 5 inches taller than most of his opponents. In fact, it works against him because he's much older than a lot of his opponents too. And Jon was, a lot younger coming up, and he's always the younger guy, even against like DC and stuff. So I'm just telling you guys that, like, Volk, if he gets past Movsar, this dude's really the GOAT. This dude's really the fucking GOAT, because he put on a clinic against Diego Lopez twice, and he showed that there's a massive level difference, a massive skill gap between him and the rest of these guys competing. And I just have to say that, man, that like, I guess, you know, Ilya really is the GOAT because Ilya is the one who knocked out Volk, right? But just hear me out that like Volk is one of these GOATs, bro. Volk, Ilya, there's this upper echelon of fighters now in the UFC that exist. And I believe there's been a barrier that's been broken in the UFC. And to be honest with you guys, I think that Volk made that happen. I spoke about this before, but it's like, you know, these jumps happen in the sport when one guy is so good and you got to be better than him, the barrier for entry, you know, increases. And I believe that, you know, that this is why the featherweight division is so crazy, because we even got Kevin Vallejos now. And I told you the barrier for entry for Kevin Vallejos was he had to be better than Gene Silva, who was better than 90% of the featherweight division before he even made it to the UFC. You know, that's why Kevin Vallejos is so good. And it's like, why is Ilia Topuria so good? Because he had to be better than Volk to become a champion. And if you're better than Volk, you're better than 90% of the UFC roster, just technically wise. You know, technique wise, you're better than 90% of the roster if you're better than Volk. And, you know, so we're seeing this big jump now. I say that to say we're seeing a big jump now. I don't know how much I want to include Islam into that, but Islam's definitely up there. You know, but I'll include Islam, I'll include Ilya, I'll include Volk, I'll even include, you know, it's gonna sound shitty, but I'll even include like a Max Holloway a little bit up in there for now, because he was in that circle with Volk and Ilya. And you know, if I didn't say Jon Jones, but this is that upper echelon of elite fighters that, like, you know, it's been a big jump. All I'm saying, it's been a big jump, and these guys are the GOATs. These guys are the real technical guys you guys want to be watching, you know, on the level of a Floyd Mayweather type shit, where you watch it and you're in awe that, like, they could do that to their opponents and make it look so easy. You know, that's a Volk. And I would love to see him test that skill against Movsar Evloev, and we will make sure that happens. The chat is so fucking quiet. Fuck you guys. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. You know, you guys are too quiet. Fuck you guys. Low-key pissing me off. I've been rage baited long enough. It's been 2 hours. The chat quiet as a motherfucker. Frank is carrying it. Brian C. You know, everybody in the chat, this ain't a message to you. But the chat quiet as fuck. Fuck you guys. All right, you guys don't like good vibes or what? Because clearly you're not doing anything to bring up the vibe. Now, I know I'm cooking, and I know I'm spitting facts. I know you want to hear Volk right now, but shit, you guys should be responding to me cooking. Quiet night or what? Definitely a quiet night. Super weird.
What I love about it is I don't care about it because I know it ain't going to be a boring fight with me, because you ain't holding me down. I can guarantee you that. That's one thing that I'm very confident in. And one thing I did say, I said in the post show, when I did like a live feed, live post reaction show, actually it was with.
Side note, but Volk talks with his hands so much, it's kind of funny to me. So we've done this, and then we've done this. It's like, shout out to Volk and his hand movements.
It was through UFC, straight after the show. And I'm just saying, I'm like, I don't want you to feel like you have to strike with me and all this. I don't want any excuses. I want you trying to spam the wrestling, because I know you ain't going to get them. Even if you did get me to the ground, I'm bouncing straight back up, and I'm going to force you to fight on the feet anyway. So that's why I know that style ain't going to be boring when you're fighting me, because no one's going to sit there and just control me in a position. If anything, I'll be able to, if he wants to try and take me, I bet you I end up on top and I do more damage than him in that anyway aspect. But I believe.
And if he does that, bro, if he fucking grapples back and gets on top of Movsar, this dude is the fucking GOAT, bro. This dude's the fucking GOAT. Frank says, I'm here. It's not quiet. Frank, I know you the GOAT tonight, homie. You the GOAT. And I know a lot of the boys in here are just sitting back, you know, doing their thing. They got me playing on the background, so it's fine. You know, it's not really fuck you guys, but it's a sarcastic, you know, fuck you guys. Fuck you guys, you know? It's a sarcastic one. It's like start speaking in the chat a bit more.
It'll be a fun fight. I want him to do whatever he thinks he can. I want him to just try and win. He's obviously a winner. He knows how to win. And I want him to try that with me, just to show him that, yeah, you know how to win, but not against me. You don't know how to win against me. And I can really prove that, and very confident in that. Again, he's a great fight. I think he's a very hard fight for everyone. Just not me. I just think, I've got all these guys covered. Even now at 37, what am I going to be, 38? I'm going to be pretty much 38 by the time we fight. Still very, very confident. I believe in myself, and I still believe I've got all the skills, and I have what it takes.
Yeah, I just realized too that the Floyd upstairs, she's been on a better behavior. Now she's being nice. Now she being nice. She not pounding on the floor tonight.
What I like.
Good. Learning your fucking lesson. Don't take my kindness for weakness ever. I'm a nice guy. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Quit fucking with me. I don't like to be fucked with. Nobody likes to be fucked with. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, my neighbor upstairs, she gets mad at me when I stream late. And then she starts pounding on the floor. She's called the cops on me several times. She's trying to get me evicted and shit. So, that's the story. I got a upstairs neighbor who always bitches. She says she can hear me. She says she can hear me word for word. So I'm just giving you guys context. Don't mean to repeat myself about that, but anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so Jon Jones, he reacts to a fighter nearly dying on Russian Tough for claiming he fucked another fighter's mom. Jon Jones reacts. Was it too much? Not at all. They fought a consensual fight. So honestly, this might be too much to show on YouTube, but I'll show you a little bit of it. I'm not going to show you the part where this dude's getting carried. I have this posted on my IG, so just go to the IG and view it. But I know this is going to be too much for YouTube, so I'll just show you the fight.
Fucked your mom. Got it? I fucked your mother's mouth.
I fucked your mom. Got it? I fucked your mother's mouth is so diabolical, it's not even funny. Not even funny. And this is the dude who nearly died. He had it coming. You do not say you fucked some dude's mother's mouth. That might be worse than fucking her. That might be worse than fucking her. To be honest with you, that might be worse.
And visit him from a different country who had been talking a lot of crap about Svet's mom.
Kovalenko.
When I started walking down to Chabanov, I looked at him. I clearly understood the day had come.
Piece of shit! Yank his eye out. Use your elbow. Elbow him. Fuck out of him.
Well done! Elbow, elbow! Yes, 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 yes. Oh, very good. Let's go. Squeeze him! More. Hit him a couple times. Don't come close! Give him a couple more. Go!
You can hit his jaw.
What the fuck are you doing?
They want it themselves.
Calm them down. What do you mean they want it, bro? Don't you see what they're doing?
Why are you yelling at me? I'm fucking sick of it.
That's it, bro. Enough, bro. Back off.
Bag it. I fuck.
Okay, so that is let me just turn off the screen real quick. I'll show you guys more of it.
Enough.
You can listen.
They want it. That's it, Svet. Let him go. Let him go.
I'll show you the Jon interview.
That's it. Let him go. Let him go. Svet, don't hit. Don't hit. Fuck.
Svet, man, the guy has a heart of a lion, really. I mean, people say that he's not a real fighter and that he's just an entertainer. But what I saw was a man holding his family's honor. Was it too much? Not at all. They fought in a consensual fight. No one got killed, but a lesson was learned.
Look at him. Oh, he was fucked. That's like a dog,
Svet,
you know?
what's happening?
He a dog.
Give him ice. That's too much already.
He a dog, bro. He a dog. Jon is right, though. Jon is right, low key. Homie showed that he a dog. That's a picture. That's like literally an image of like, a dog after a fight and getting its ass beat, just sitting there with the wounds on his face. He don't know nothing but fighting. Don't know nothing but it. Okay, so I know I put this on the title, so let's speak about it. To be honest with you guys, this is my first time taking a look at the UFC Seattle card this weekend. We got Izzy versus Joe Pyfer coming up. And who the fuck is Joe Pyfer? Does anyone know? Obviously, I know who Joe Pyfer is, but you know, for the streets, you know, for the casual fan base, this main event ain't really delivering. We'll see. We'll see when it gets down to it, but booking Izzy against Joe Pyfer is very, very, very questionable. It's very questionable, just to say the least. Very questionable. And if Izzy doesn't beat Joe, then I don't know anything about MMA, because this is the same example I'm giving you guys why I think Pereira will beat Cyril Gahn. You know, Joe Pyfer, he's not really a wrestler or grappler. Now, if Pyfer out grapples Izzy, then okay, you know, that's the only route to victory here. But you know, Joe Pyfer, he known for his hands, he known for his knockout power, and I don't see him landing any of it on Izzy. If Izzy's still who Izzy is, you know, even a fraction of who he is, I just don't see Joe Pyfer being able to land it. So, you know, Izzy is worlds of a better striker than Joe Pyfer. Let's just see how this plays out. That's what's going to be interesting. Izzy is worlds of a better striker than Joe Pyfer. Near an even fight, plus 110, just because Izzy's a fraction of himself going into this on a losing streak. And Joe Pyfer does possess a little bit of wrestling. Let's see if, of all people, right? Of all the people Izzy fought before, Yoel Romero and shit, watch Joe Pyfer be the one to take him the fuck down. Gonna be crazy. Frank says, Volk destroys. Yes, he does. Kevin says, I'm driving and listening like a soldier. Perfect, Kevin. No worries. No worries. I'm just trying to get some, you know, I got a troll to get something out you boys. You soldiers are just locked in. So it's all good. Frank says, I'll be in your dreams, bro. Hopefully not, Frank. Hopefully not. I might get a little scared. Izzy KO round 1. Yeah, I'm rocking with Izzy. I mean, KO round 1 would actually kind of like, I would like that. I would actually kind of like that. Decent fight weekend between this and RAF 07. Yeah, we got RAF. We got Pat Downey against Trent Hidlay. We got Giorgio versus Armand 2. And there's I don't know. We'll preview that probably one other day this week. How about that, Dun Daughter? We can preview the RAF 7 card too sometime this week. But yeah, that's coming up too. Is that on Saturday? Sorry. I know I got a bad attention span. I'll come right back to the card that I was previewing. The 28th. Today's Tuesday. Wednesday. Thursday. Friday. Saturday. Yep, it's on Saturday. Okay. Izzy card. Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber co-main event. It's like, bro, fuck you. Michael Chiesa, Nico Price. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The UFC owes Michael Chiesa so much for not pressing charges against McGregor for that Dolly incident. It's not even funny. Michael Chiesa, the only guy who doesn't get the shit treatment by the UFC. Michael Chiesa, the only guy. Give him Tony Ferguson, give him Max Griffin, give him Court McGee, give him Carlston Harris, who probably would have knocked his ass out. At least I hope. Probably not though. See what I mean? Given Michael Chiesa on a 3-fight win streak, a guy coming off of 2 knockout losses. Crazy. And then who do they replace him with? Another guy coming off of knockout losses. You know, 2 knockout losses, 3-fight loss streak. It's clear as day, you know. Michael Chiesa has been blackmailing the UFC for years. He's a bit of a dirtball, in my opinion. 38 years old. Feed him to a prospect like the rest of these guys. He gets the same treatment as the rest of them. But he won't get the same treatment as the rest of them because Conor McGregor threw a dolly at him and he didn't press charges, and he probably let McGregor, you know, return and fight and make the UFC money. So yeah. Michael Chiesa, it's like, bro, we're not excited. And it's just more of the same. It's more of the same, boys. Julian Erosa fighting Larian Douglas, as if we know Larian. Mansur versus UFC Belgari. Mamsur Abdul Malik. He might be let's see, the jury's out on him. I can't tell yet. He got all finishes. Let's just see. Let's see what he does against Yuri. But this is actually, you know, this got some stakes to it. He undefeated guy coming in against a former kickboxer. Let's see how he does. Terrence McKinney, Kyle Nelson. Don't sleep on Kyle Nelson. That's all I'll say. Terrence McKinney, he goes out there like a madman every time. But I'm just saying, you know, if Kyle Nelson can weather that storm of Terrence McKinney early, don't be surprised if Kyle Nelson can find the win. He's very good at Muay Thai. Very technical Muay Thai fighter from Canada. So, got a great jab on him too. Kyle Nelson got a great jab on him. And that jab could be key to the victory here on not letting Terrence McKinney get started on his madness. Ignacio Bahamondes and Tofik Musayev. Okay, I'll watch it. I'll watch it. Tofik 0-1 in the UFC. Ignacio 6-3. Lost to Fiziev in his last one. Lost to John McDessie. Oof. Lost to Ludovic Klein. Somehow he beat Jalen Turner in 2025 with a triangle choke. I remember that, bro. That's the biggest fluke ever. And he beat Loco Torres. What the fuck? All right. So homie, he way better than dude who just got beat by Michael Johnson and Bobby Green. I kind of grouped them up. They remind me of each other. Daniel Zellhuber. So yeah, Ignacio. Let's see what he can do against Tofik. Tofik, a rising champion. Lost to Mitabek Orobai via Kimura in the first round. Interesting. Chase Hooper, Lance Gibson Jr. Oh boy, Lance Gibson Jr. sucks dick, bro. Lance Gibson Jr. I wish we could cut him right now. I wish we could cut Lance Gibson Jr. right fucking now, bro. This dude fought Bobby Green in his last bout and never once led in the fight. Never once threw first. He a bitch and he a clown. Fuck Lance Gibson Jr. I hope Chase Hooper submits him quick. Because Lance Gibson Jr. is a pathetic fighter to watch. Marcin Tybura, Tyrell Fortune, another Bellator guy. Tyrell Fortune was supposed to be a big prospect early on in his career. He's 17-3. And he been working. He been working. Three wins in 2025. 2 title fights. Went 1-1 in the PFL. He put in work in Bellator. Look at all of his fights in Bellator. You know, he did put in work. He's a wrestler. 13-2 in Bellator, 1-1 in the PFL. This dude's from an American Top Team as well. Like I said, wrestler. So look out for Tyrell Fortune. He's 35. And Marcin Tybura, you know, the Ultimate Gatekeeper, he's 40. So let's see what happens here. Am I interested? Mid. I'll watch it and shit. I don't know. Tofik and Ignacio is pretty good matchmaking. Chase Hooper, I'll watch it. Terrence versus Kyle Nelson, I'll watch it. Mansour, I'll watch it. Julian versus Larian. You know, hopefully Larian can show us something. But this is one of those what the fuck fights. Michael Chiesa, Nico Price, another what the fuck fight on top of the card. Grasso, Macy Barber, another what the fuck fight on top of the card. You know. Izzy Pyfer is kind of whatever too. It's not really got any stakes. Like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it, but I probably wouldn't watch it if it wasn't my job. I probably wouldn't mind going to, like, you know, run some errands or something like that. Or kick it with some homies. If they were to call me, like, let's put it like this. If Izzy versus Joe Pyfer's on and my homies called me, I'd probably go kick it with the homies instead. If the homies said, yo, poker night tonight, or like, yo, we're going out, I'd be like, all right, let's go. Shit, Joe Pyfer versus Izzy's on. I ain't staying home for this one. This one not worth my time. So that's what I would say about the main event. Casey O'Neill versus Gabriela Fernandez. Don't give a fuck. Navajo Sterling versus Bruno Lopez. Navajo's a big favorite. 8-0. Comes from Izzy's camp. He's a streamer. 3 unanimous decisions in the UFC. I'm just not sure about this dude yet. I'm not really too high on him. Navajo. He's a streamer as well, though, if I already said that. Bruno Lopez, I got no clue about him. Ricky Simone, Adrian Yanez. Oh, shit, Adrian Yanez back. He lost to Daniel Marcos in December of 2024. He's been out ever since. So, we got Adrian Yanez back against Ricky Simone. That's a good fight. I will be watching that one. Ricky Simone minus 170 favorite. Adrian Yanez plus 135. Adrian was, he was in the talks about fighting Sean O'Malley at one point in time. Homie got crisp ass hands. Let's see how him and Ricky Simone plays out. Ricky got the wrestling, and Adrian got the hands. They both mediocre. Ricky got a little bit of striking too. Adrian got some wrestling too, but that's not the bread and butter. And then these two women, we don't give a fuck. Drew says, what up, homie? What up, homie? How's the new job, Jew? We chilling? Kevin says, dogged him out. Dogged him out. Who are you talking about? Fandora 154-pound WBC title defense versus Thurman this Saturday too. Yes, bro. I'm looking forward to that one, Daughter. I'm looking forward to that. If you a hardcore out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I watched another good one, another good Keith Thurman fight back in the day was Keith Thurman versus Danny Garcia. That was a solid one, bro. That was a solid one. Drew says it's shit, TBH. Never good when it's shit, but I feel you, homie. I feel you. Low key kind of life, low key kind of life. Amazon, but I don't like it position. What you doing? You sorting the boxes or something? The driving seems to be the gravy position. The driving seems to be pretty gravy. I don't know how long it takes to be a driver, but shit. Honestly, I've considered in my past life, I've considered becoming an Amazon driver. Job seems kind of chill. It's one of those 9 to 5. Oh, stowing. I got you. I don't know what stowing is, but shit, I got you. No, but I mean the job is kind of chill. There's some chill stuff too. I know you're working at night, but I think you said you're working at night. But the driver job seems chill just because it's like, 9 to 5 type shit. Except for the holidays. The holidays are tough, so shout out to the Amazon workers. That shit not easy. But you got benefits and shit, I think. I don't know. Okay. So that's the wrap up on the card. But shout out to Jew. We're missing Jew's presence in the chat today. I was just going off on the chat, Jew. I was like, fuck you guys. You're too quiet. And then shout out MMA Rio coming in here too. Hello, buddy. What's poppin', MMA Rio? What's up? Greetings from Croatia. What's poppin', homie? What's poppin', homie? Juice says, I want to just do anything else. Can't you apply for a role change within a few months, Jew? Does that work out? 3 to 6 months in, you can apply for a new position. You just got to stick through it. That's how it was at UPS, I think. You could apply for a different job inside the warehouse after 6 months. But I was a sorter, bro. I was a sorter and I did not like that job. I wanted the job where they would put the boxes and arrange the trucks. My homie did that. My homie I was sorting for my homie essentially. I would sort and then my homie would arrange it in the trucks. So the arranging in the trucks seems chill too. I don't know if you can request for that. But you basically you put all the boxes in the truck for the driver. That one seemed kind of chill. 2 weeks. Oh, perfect. 2 weeks easy. Easy money. Juice says that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, that one seems chill, bro. That one seems chill because I would even dip out from my job. I'd go kick it with my homie while he's doing the truck. And I was like, bro, this is way more chill. You don't got no supervisor down your neck over here? Shit, the sorting was crazy. I did sort before I liked it. Yeah. The sorting's not bad. The problem is, bro, the thing for me that bothered me is that like I made it look kind of easy, I guess. I was like unaware. So I made the sorting look kind of easy, bro. I was just chucking that shit cuz you know, I'm like a bigger dude, I guess. A bit stronger, you could say. So I was chucking that shit, just doing my thing. And then, bro, people start like pushing the big heavy boxes my way. And I'm like, bro, I know I'm a big guy, but like shit, it's not my fucking job to be sorting all the big heavy 50-pound plus boxes. Like that ain't my job. I already got enough on my own. And that's when I got over the sorting. Because my manager would be like, bro, just do it. And I'm like, fuck you, bro. You do it. You do it, motherfucker. Like you see it and you're not saying anything. You're just telling me to do it. Like tell homie to do it. But that was the problem. So yeah, I was a sorter though. Shout out to Jew. What is the salary there? Shit, for me, it was minimum wage essentially. When I was working at UPS, it was like minimum wage. Maybe a couple dollars more. But the incentive is, you know, it can become a career. That's the incentive. At least at UPS. So yeah, boys, that's pretty much the news stories on the day. I see a lot of clips going around about Izzy and Joe Pyfer. If you really want me to, because Colin Rugg reposted it. The reward for hard work is always more work. Dude, I noticed that. And that's when I realized like, oh, okay, so this is one of the like I was still young, so I realized like, oh, okay, when you're in this type of like job, it's really like who can do less. Like the squeaky wheel really does get the grease in those types of jobs. And if you show you're good at it, they're only going to ask you to do more. 23 an hour starting for me. Okay, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What's minimum wage these days? Like 15 or something? 23 is pretty good. 23 is pretty good. Okay. Don't bust ass. Yeah, don't bust your ass, bro. Moral of the story, if you were listening to me with that one, shit, if you work at a regular job like that, yeah, do not work hard. You will not be rewarded for it. In fact, you will be punished for it. So yeah, set the standard real low. In another way of saying it, set the standard super low. First day on the job, you want them to think you're like, you know, let's put it like this, right, boys? Do weaponized incompetence. Exactly. Do enough to not get fired. Exactly. You want to oh my god. You want to weaponize incompetence as one of these regular job employees. You want to weaponize incompetence. Now, weaponized incompetence in everyday life can be kind of exhausting for your peers. But shit, in the setting that we're talking about, it's either you or them. It's either you or them. So if you don't use weaponized incompetence first, someone else finna use it on you, and that person who's using it, you're gonna have to make up for their slack. So you want it to be the other way around. The first day on the job, okay, we weaponize the incompetence. We having other people pick up our slack. We doing just enough to not get fired. Bottom fucking line. Free game of the day. You feel me? All right, so Joe Pyfer found God. You know, shout out to Jesus for the one time. Let's listen to Joe Pyfer.
Well, to be just completely honest,
Honestly, it sounds like he was super unfaithful to his girl or something. But it's like, Joe, you really got game like that? I don't know, homie. But you making it seem like you were unfaithful to your girl and you had guilt over it, so you found God. Unless you were getting tuggies. But Joe doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who got game like that. Like, what's he gonna do? Walk up to a chick and hit on her in public? He don't got that finesse. We all know Joe's personality. He very vulgar with it. He don't got that finesse. So I'm just saying he makes it seem like he was cheating on his girl and God made him feel bad about it, and he came to Jesus. But I don't think he got much game. So I kind of doubt my own theory. Let's hear Joe though from the top.
well, to be just completely honest, I feel I've had a complete resurgence, like life change 360 as far as my faith. And I felt like I had an outer body experience with something that happened in my life where I was able to see who I was, and I was pretty disappointed. Like, I always felt guilty about certain things. And a girl I've been with, her name's Ashlyn. She's been a girlfriend of mine for 6+ years now. And, just envisioning marriage and a family and God at the center of everything is going to be something that I feel like is my true legacy. Didn't like who I was when I was able to see who I was, and thanks to God putting my girlfriend in my life the way that he did, because she's been the only person in an intimate level that has ever come into my life and loved me through anything and everything. I'm in a rebuilding phase of my life. I'm a baby Christian, but I feel like a born-again believer, and I feel like it's very important for me to talk about it. So I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. For the ones that don't believe, give yourself a chance, because it's true freedom. Well, to be just...
I hear about this a lot. The true freedom. And to be honest with you guys, shout out to Joe for finding Jesus. I don't really got much to say. I'm happy that he's found Jesus. But I hear about everybody saying, loving Jesus is true freedom. I even saw Jax Forrest posted on his story. He said, winning titles and cool, but the most fulfilling thing is loving Jesus. And I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm going to be all the way real with you guys. I love Jesus, and, I'm a Christian as well. But I have not, upped my Christian game to where, like, how did he end it?
Completely honest, I feel it's true freedom.
That right there. I have not experienced true freedom by loving Jesus. I still have a lot of struggles. So it's fine. And I'm not doubting Jesus by any means. I'm just saying that maybe I need to become, follow God's word a bit more, because I do be sinning. Even if I know I'm sinning, I be doing it anyway at times. So maybe that's why I don't have the true freedom that Joe Pyfer's talking about and Jax Forrest is talking about. And even like Rolly Romero's talked about it too. Him finding God and Jesus. And then they talk about this freedom that they get, this love from Jesus. And it's like, bro, like, I love Jesus. I believe in Jesus with all my heart. Like, I don't think, I 100% believe. But I do be committing sins, and I know that I'm going to do it, and I still do it. You feel me? Like, I know better and I still do it. So maybe that's why I don't got that freedom, like Joe Pyfer and shit, because I be, it's almost like, I think what they're trying to say is don't chase the things that like bring you short-term fulfillment and shit. I do. I can't help it. I cannot help it. So maybe I got to fix that. And instead of focusing on short-term fulfillment, get fulfilled with Jesus, which is not something I'm very, used to. It's like, yeah, I believe in Jesus, but I don't use him to fulfill me, if that makes sense to you guys. And I love Jesus. And that's what one thing my mom told me. My mom told me that all you need to do is love Jesus with all your heart and believe in Jesus, that he's the Son of God, and you'll be good. But I do need to follow his word a bit more. But I don't mean to be preaching to you boys, but I'm just telling you boys, my mom told me, very important, you got to love Jesus. Jesus will reward you if you love him. And I see Jew in the chat saying, I need to love Jesus. Shit, show him some love, homie. Show him some love. Mama Castro told you. But yeah, shout out to all of you boys in the chat. I guess we ended it on a Jesus note. But actually, I guess we could play this real quick. I don't even want to play it, bro. There's no point. Let me just tell you. This is how it gets these days, boys. I can't even listen to this shit because none of it's true. And I need to always like add context to it. But Masvidal revealed he turned down an offer from MVP to be on the Netflix card because UFC is currently working on his return. And yeah, I know that he kind of is. He's not saying it, but homie's under contract with the UFC. So like, of course he was never gonna fight on the Netflix card because he's under contract with the UFC, and the UFC got in the way of it, and that's fine. And I guess on the back end, maybe Masvidal versus McGregor. Maybe Masvidal versus McGregor. That's what I see people kind of speculating. Masvidal versus McGregor on working something for his UFC return. They lost Nate Diaz. Maybe it's going to be a slap in the face. Like, You didn't do business with us. You overlooked us for MVP. Now we finna reward Masvidal. You know, I could see something like that. But that's the story there. I don't know. I don't think Masvidal's making it seem like he turned it down. Or I mean, I don't know. MMA Orbit's saying that. Masvidal reveals he turned down an offer from MVP to be on the Netflix card because he's currently working on a UFC return. But it's like, I just want to say it clearly, just to make myself feel better. You know, Masvidal would have taken that fight, but the UFC got in the way. So like, you know, the UFC forced him to turn it down. You know, getting in the way of things still. Whatever. Just bringing it to your guys' attention because this was one of the bigger stories of the day. Kevin says, amen. Amen. And then MMA Rio says, just like that, agree with you. My man, shout out to Rio. And shit, if you on that Jesus tip, no worries. Shit, we not always about God on here. Well, we not always talking about it. And you know, I ain't judging you if you're not, so don't even trip, you know. You don't look down on me, I don't look down on you. So shit, we ain't judging. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody for watching. A little late night stream. We ending at around midnight now. Should be a bit earlier tomorrow though. Of course we got, why we always got like peak viewership when I'm about to fucking end this shit, bro? Where were all you motherfuckers? I'm about to eat shit, I'll just tell you guys what I'm about to do. I'm about to go I made a chuck roast in the crock pot. I honestly think that eating steak, the elite way of eating steak, boys, is the elite way to eat beef, not pull apart. Like, I know that people like beef medium rare and shit like that, like 135 internal, and like that's fine. I've had my fair share of it, but to be honest with you guys, I don't enjoy it that much. Like, I think the rare meat is like, I don't know, bro. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm talking flavor. And like, whether I cook it at 135, whether I cook it at, you know, 165, the flavor is going to be the flavor. The difference is the toughness. But the flavor of steak, you know, that's not pull apart. I think pull apart steak is better. So I got a chuck roast that I cooked in the crock pot, low and slow, and that shit's going to be well above 135. That shit's going to be like 190. You feel me? Because it's pull apart. But I'm finna be shredding that beef on my rice, bro, and I swear to God, that shit's going to be so much better than like if I were to have a ribeye cooked medium rare and I'm cutting slices into it. Like, I don't know. It's just, I know that the medium steak melts in your mouth, and if you got a thinner one, it melts in your mouth a bit more, but I think, you know, 135 internal ribeye steak or a pull apart like brisket or pull apart chuck roast, bro, I'm going pull apart beef all day. I'm going pull apart beef all day. So I'm finna eat that with some rice right now. And since no one seems to care, I guess that's my cue to get out of here and go eat that. So shout out to the street, shout out to everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. We've been live for about 30 days straight now, and we got 60 more to go for a total of 90 days. And then when we hit that 90-day streak, we're probably going to push it to 100. So everybody, you know, tune in tomorrow and for the rest of the 90-day streak. And what else I had to say? Oh yeah, like the video on the way out if you didn't run up the likes already. And if you're just joining now, then just catch the replay once I turn off the stream. But shout out everybody for watching. Brian C with the last chat says ribeye steak all day long. Okay. No, I feel like that's a good conversation to be had. A lot of people want to have the conversation like you like it medium inside or like well done. Shit, I'm past that conversation. I'm like, bro, medium or pull apart. Medium or pull apart beef. And whatever pull apart beef your heart desires. You feel me? Brisket, chuck roast, whatever beef you could shred. You know, I fuck with the pull apart beef. I think it's more flavorful. Even like burnt ends. Talk about burnt ends. You know, I'll take burnt ends beef. You know, that's like a caramelized and shit like that. It's not actually burnt, but it's like caramelized and shit. I'll take burnt ends over ribeye steak for sure. For sure. Ribeye steak is cool. Look at that craziness, bro. You guys see that? You guys see that craziness, right? You guys see that craziness, right? That's actually insane. That's actually insane. And it comes at 12 o'clock sharp. It's like these subtle messages that try to get pushed through to me. Someone drop in the chat if you heard that. That was insane. That was actually insane. It's almost like she could hear me getting off, so she wants to get her own satisfaction and make her feel like she's the one who got me off by making the pound. It's like, bro, I'm already getting off this bitch. Shut the fuck up. That stomp is wild. Super wild. Super wild. It's like, I'm already getting off this bitch. Shut the fuck up. You know? I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying, but I swear to God, she wants the satisfaction, bro. She wants to feel like she's the one who got me off. She knows I'm getting off this bitch. I just announced it, you know? But it's like, oh no, let me go pound. Time for another half hour. Should we deploy penalty time? Dutch Dale's Burger. So shit, now we got people dropping in the chat. How crazy is that? Andrew Nance been in here just kicking it. Andrew Nance goes, damn, with the hooded Dober emoji. What's popping, homie? That stomp is wild. I know, Brian C. Time for another half hour. I feel you. I could eat the steak on here, but I don't think it's that entertaining for you guys. Dutch Dazzleburger, and this shit happens like on a daily basis. So like you know, yeah, this shit happens on a daily basis, boys. So maybe just subscribe just to see that. I don't know. I do not know. Got to, bro. I know. Shit, you know, we'll cut our loss, or you know, we'll quit while we're ahead. How about that, Brian C? How about that? We'll quit while we're ahead. You know, as much as I would like to stay on type shit, we'll quit while we're ahead. I'm finna go eat. Unless there's anything, like, is there anything on this timeline? Let's see. Kevin Lee says, I want to see UFC do great, even though I'm no longer with them at all. As a fan of the sport, I hope UFC gets bigger and bigger, but it's not a good look. Isn't that insane? Isn't that insane? That's so aggressive. It's crazy. Bro, I'm fucking talking in here. I'll get off when I want to get off. We are very close to deploying the 30-minute penalty. We are moments away from a 30-minute penalty timer. It's actually insane, bro. It's like, oh my gosh. Cry some more. Cry some more. She doubles down. It's like, what exactly is she using? Just go, bro. Look, that gets you guys going crazy, bro. What the fuck? Crazy, LOL. I know, bro. She fucking crazy. She fucking crazy. This a every night thing. She been doing it at 10 p.m. too. Knock back. Hey, Andrew, I thought about it, homie. I've definitely thought about knocking back. We the same. I've definitely thought about knocking back. Oh, but just to finish the sentence from Kevin Lee, he goes, but it's not a good look that it seems like they aren't listening to the fans anymore and making the right fights happen. That said, man, I'm fucking excited for the Netflix MMA card. All right. I'm excited for it too. I don't know about fucking excited, but it's cool. Colby says he's not getting into politics anymore. In my opinion, it's like, bro, you either like politics or you don't. Oh, he's talk shit on Buckley. Let's hear this. Hold on. I guess we got to end on this one. Colby says getting into politics didn't benefit him at all. My
career. I
focus
was on the campaign trail.
my focus wasn't on the UFC. My focus was on America. I did give up that time and I wasn't training. And it was honestly career suicide for me to go fight at that time. But I knew Buckley was such a bum. He couldn't do anything to me, even with no training camp. Oh my gosh. It sucks I didn't get rewarded. I thought loyalty would be rewarded. The UFC didn't care. Damn. Well, I mean, how the fuck? You were running a campaign for Trump. Why the fuck would the UFC reward you for campaigning with Trump? A little backwards ass thinking there. Yeah, we all remember when Colby came out to fight Buck when he was ducking Ian. We all remember. We all remember. I'm hearing some fondling going up. Yeah, more. So as I was saying about Larry Wheels and Dean the Great. Oh my goodness gracious. Tony M says, is your neighbor hot? No, not at all. Not at all. What do you think she's using to bang? My question is, what do you think she's using to bang? That's so great. It's time for another hour. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. Rampage Jackson meets the ASU frat leader. Imagine trying to control what another person does downstairs in their house. What if it's her bed frame? It ain't, bro. She ain't getting fucked. She ain't getting fucked.
What the fuck is that? Hey, why you coming to my Taco Tuesday party flexing and shit, nigga?
Camera was on me. I had a flex.
You coming to my Taco Tuesday party flexing?
Why not? What's wrong with that?
This ain't no motherfucking gym, nigga. This is a fucking Taco Tuesday party.
All right, let's go get some tacos.
All right.
Let's go get some tacos.
How the fuck did Rampage get the ASU frat leader over here? You guys know about the ASU frat leader? The ASU frat leader who Mog framed. The one and only clavicular. Brian C, he's stoked on the next hour coming. You know, I just feel like, you know, it's like a little girl, like a, you know, when like a bratty baby cries to get her way, you don't want to reward the crying. That's how I am right now. It's like, dude, you're crying to get your way. I don't want to reward the crying. I just don't want to reward the crying. I don't want to give positive reinforcement for bad behavior. Rampage Jackson's Taco Tuesday's got to be a hit, bro. Look at all these people. Flight Reacts? I got no clue who Flight Reacts even is. Yeah, frame mod Clav. He did frame mod him. All right, let's peep some bookmarks and just get out of here. Oh, Demetrius reacted to the full fight of Wing C. We got to see this one. We got to see this one. Okay, two things, and then we'll get out of here. Two things for you boys. Let's watch Demetrius react to this.
The crowd loves him. The crowd loves him, boys. All right, here we go.
Let's get to what my specialty is, and that's breaking down fights.
A lot to take in with those introductions. These guys are looking intense in there. Look at Wing C staring down his opponent for his first professional fight. A big step in his career. He's already hitting the pose.
Here we go.
No glove touch.
Oi.
Right
Okay.
away, the head kick. Nelson studying his opponent well.
Okay, we have Southpaw versus Orthodox.
He's so hard to prepare for because he's so
Okay, head kick.
unorthodox. You have no clue what he's going to throw
Ooh,
next.
ran into left hand there.
He's not fighting for almost half the fight. It's a mix of fighting and kind of, what is it, emoting?
Corner said it. Wing C, hands up.
It's such a different
Jab lands.
when you're in there with such a wild opponent. It's like having a smaller version of G Proska in front of you. The chains are coming in loud and heavy for Wing C in his hometown.
And it's risky.
Okay. I like he took that shot. I like that shot.
Look at that beautiful scroll from Yves Nelson.
Because he is a wrestler.
He's in there. He's got a
Nice high kick. Hey, he got his hands up that time.
head kicks. He's rolling knees to the face. Every
Okay, good shot, say.
fast.
Whee!
Quick step back counter by the south.
Oh! Oh!
Damn, I didn't know the fight only lasted a fucking minute.
Referee stops the fight. Wow! What an upset.
I had no clue it lasted a minute. Dang. Demetrius' reaction was wasn't much, but okay. I think we got something cooking here. Luke Riley, Kevin Viejos. So someone made this tweet. Riley should be grateful for that visa issue every day, since without it, his O would be gone and he would not be in the UFC. Would have been a top-tier Dana White Contender Series fight, though. Luke Riley just quote tweeted this for March 23rd, which is only 2 days ago, which is like a day after his win. But Riley quote tweeted this and he goes, just make sure every one of yous on this post, put your money where your mouth is when this happens. Just come back to this when I take him to school. Okay, we cooking, Luke Riley. And this is what we want for you, Luke Riley. We want you tested and we want to see how good you really are. And we down to run this test against Viejos. We down for this one. Honestly, I could see him in this bout by the end of 2026. Viejos spoke about it after the fight with Emmett. He's looking to still develop. He's not looking to necessarily be shot to the moon yet. He's down to be shot to the moon, but if the UFC wants to give him a little bit more time to develop, even better for him. That's just the way I read it. You know, I think he said some of this stuff on Ariel's podcast, if I'm not mistaken, or he might have said it somewhere else. So, or in the post-fight press conference, somewhere he said it. But Viejos wants a bit more of a developmental deal, so to speak. He's getting pushed up pretty quickly, but he wants a bit of a developmental deal moving forward, meaning slow down the rise a little bit. Luke Riley, you know, if he wants that smoke with Kevin Viejos and Kevin Viejos is asking to slow down his rise, Luke Riley, you get one more win this year, shit, we might put you up against him, homie. One more win this year, we might put you up against him. 2 more wins this year, definitely put you up against him beginning of the Big 27. All right, but this is something that I got my eye on right here. Luke Riley, Kevin Viejos. Luke Riley talking to shit. Put your money where your mouth is when I take him to school. I love it. All right, so I'm finna get out of here now, boys, before it gets too crazy in here. I think we trolled long enough. But shout out to all you boys watching. I will see all you guys tomorrow for the live stream. Hopefully we get some good news, boys. You know, I like some good news every night. Shout out to Andrew Nance for making good use of his emojis, his membership emojis. Become a member now and get access to these fire-ass emojis. Shout out Brian C. for also using the emojis. Shout out to Tony M. Shout out Dunn Daughter. Shout out Andrew Nance once again. Shout out Douche Dalesberger. Shout out to Kevin from Chicago. MMA Rio. Dunn Daughter again. Jew. Shout out to Frank for being in here, for being one of the best chatters of the night. Shout out to Perfecto. Perfecto was solid tonight. HT. Shout out HT. Shout out Tom. Shout out to JP Money. Shout out Eric Gould. Shout out to Owen Mania for popping in. Shout out America First. Shout out to Meat Rocket. Shout out to Tony Sal. Tony Sal was locked in earlier on the chat, so thank you. America First as well, thank you. Brian C. He got gifted a member. I think he renewed his membership today. So shout out to Brian C. for renewing that membership, homie. Thanks for becoming a member. Welcome. Welcome to the member pack. James Steele was in here, so shout out to James Steele. Shout out to Otto. Shout out to Chill Vibes for popping in. Shout out to Gravy Show for popping in. Lord of the Pies for popping in. Yep, shout out to all you guys. Thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Peace out, everybody.